One Piece Comics Heritage System Chapter 26, Observation Hockey. Every morning after that, Carl would come to the island early, find a quiet forest, sit cross-legged facing the sun. He adjusted his breathing, trying to gradually calm down his mind. In this state, he tried to extend his awareness and feel the surrounding environment. Although he found nothing at first, as time passed, he gradually became able to sense some things around him, but it was just not clear yet. In the afternoon, I will practice observation hockey on this small island with Newgate, day after day. During this period, he will also supervise Long Yi and Long to see how well they have mastered the Golden Light spell. The two of them indeed have dragon blood, and they are physically gifted. In just a few days, the Golden Light spell can cover the whole body, and can even be radiated externally. Clay may be worse, only covering the limbs, but it can progress much faster than normal humans. At the same time, he also handed Long Hishan's 5 elements fist to them. 5 elements boxing is a boxing method created based on the principles of the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, and combined with the 5 internal organs of the human body: heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys. Practicing 5 elements boxing can regulate the functions of the 5 internal organs and slowly enhance the physical constitution. After all, they all belong to special bloodlines, and the potential of the physical constitution is far from being fully stimulated. It's just right for them to lay the foundation. Under Clay's leadership, they practice very seriously every day. He even asked Clay to purchase hundreds of orphans aged 5 to 10 on the island, because he firmly believed that children were the best to control. He first taught them to practice the 5 elements boxing of Longhu Mountain to lay the foundation for their future power. They would be his first team members from now on. He really didn't expect that some of these 100 children would even be impressed by the strength of some of them in the future. There are countless slaves on Beehive Island, and there are thousands of orphans alone. So it only took half a day to gather them all. Clay would take them for training every day. At first, he would provide them with food and drink, and then he would start practicing the 5 elements boxing uniformly. As for the Golden Light spell, he did not teach it to anyone except Clay and the 3 of them. He went to the island every day to practice observation hockey with Newgate, striving to master observation hockey as soon as possible. At first, Carl could only passively withstand the impact of the stones, but as he went deeper, he slowly began to feel the trees, flowers, plants and other things around him. As time went by, on the 10th day, his perception gradually increased, and he slowly began to be able to capture more subtle changes, such as the blowing of the wind, the trembling of leaves, the flight of insects, etc. After sensing these subtle changes, Carl tried to integrate the information and predict the occurrence of events. He simulates the direction of movement of these things in his mind, trying to predict the enemy's movements and intentions in order to master observation hockey. This is also the most common way to master observation hockey. On the afternoon of the 13th day, observation hockey finally saw a turn for the better. Whoosh! Newgate still used stones to attack its surroundings as usual. But this time, Newgate was surprised to find that Carl twisted his body slightly and cleverly avoided the pebble. But Carl raised the corners of his mouth slightly, he succeeded. The next moment, he took off the gauze in front of his eyes and shouted happily, "I feel it. I have mastered observation hockey." Just when Newgate threw the stone, in Carl's perception, he could clearly feel the stone flying towards his shoulder. Although he was blindfolded by gauze, observation hockey gave him the feeling as if he had seen the stone, and he easily dodged it. It is somewhat similar to a spider's crisis sense. He can clearly know which direction the attack is coming from and which part of his body it is about to hit. He now understands why Fujitora can still walk normally even though he is blind. It turns out that observation hockey is really like a spy radar that can scan everything around him, but he has just started, and his current visual range is only 50 meters in diameter. Gu la la la. What Newgate heard was that he put down the remaining stones in his hand. Since he had successfully mastered it, there was no need to continue throwing stones. Newgate looked a little shocked. He had mastered observation hockey in just 13 days. Although he may have just started, it took him several months to master the knowledge. He was right, Carl was indeed a genius. Congratulations, Carl. Thank you, Newgate, for your help. He also knew that without Newgate's help, his awakening of observation hockey might have been delayed for a long time. How about you let me test your strength? Newgate is more interested in knowing how much Carl's strength has changed since he awakened observation haki. Okay, let's do it. It just so happens that Carl also wants to experiment with his observation haki. The first one to attack was Carl. He was surrounded by black gold light. A powerful aura burst out from Carl, like a vast sea, boundless and unstoppable. With the domineering power to crush everything and conquer everything, it instantly covered everything. The whole island. After covering his whole body with the golden light spell and armed color, he stepped hard on the ground with his right foot, turned into a golden lightning, rushed towards Newgate, and waved his iron fist wrapped in armament haki. Newgate reacted quickly and swung his weapon-colored sword to fend off Carl's attack. The two forces of the golden fist and the black blade collided together, creating a shockwave that made the entire island tremble. It immediately attracted everyone from the Beehive Island not far away. Who's over there? Come over and have a look. After all, the duel is taking place next to the Beehive Island, and it will definitely attract the attention of the pirates inside the Beehive Island. Gia ha ha ha. It's Carl and Newgate. Golden Lion Shaki took the lead and floated towards the island. Because under his observation haki perception, he saw that it was Newgate and Carl who were dueling. Charlotte Linlin, John Ochaku and others quickly rushed towards the island on the moonwalk. After hearing this, some pirates immediately set sail and quickly rushed to the island. They also want to watch this battle between the two captains. They want to see which one is stronger, Captain Carl or Captain Newgate. The screen switches to the island. Carl saw Newgate blocking his attack. Immediately afterwards, Newgate showed his superb swordsmanship. His sword was as fast as lightning, and sword energy swung towards Carl. Carl relied on the observation haki he had just learned to clearly sense every attack, and then gently turned sideways, perfectly avoiding the sweeps of these sword energies, and started a formal duel with Newgate with the help of observation haki. The two sides went back and forth, and the fighting was very fierce. In the blink of an eye, they had fought for hundreds of rounds, and Carl gradually fell into a disadvantage. Although he had mastered observation haki, after all, he had just started using armed color and observation color, and his current comprehensive strength could not beat Newgate. He was able to fight Newgate so many times, firstly because Newgate let off steam, and secondly because his unreasonable physique restored his physical strength every moment, which also resulted in the strength of his fists every time. All consistent. The surrounding environment was destroyed by their battles, with numerous holes appearing on the ground and trees uprooted. Carl's body was covered with stab wounds. Blood immediately flowed down the wound, but if you look closely, you can tell that his wound is healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chapter 27 Conquerors. At this moment, Golden Lion, Charlotte Linlin and others also rushed to the scene and stood not far away watching their battle. Newgate is going all out. This is really rare. Golden Lion knows that Newgate is very strong, and there are not many opponents in this sea that are worthy of Newgate's full strength. Well, I really want to have a strong child with Carl. Charlotte Linlin saw that Carl's wounds were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, and she coveted his bloodline even more. According to her knowledge, Titan bloodline has never appeared in this world, and the power of Titan bloodline is not weak at all, but far beyond her imagination. Captain Newgate, come on. Captain Carl, come on. Captain Carl's strength has become stronger again. Craig lamented that Captain Carl had become stronger again. He turned around and saw another group of pirates cheering for Newgate, and immediately led his pirates to cheer for Carl. As time went by, the battle gradually became more intense. Finally, with a deafening loud noise, the two attacks collided again. The huge impact created a powerful airflow that blew away all the surrounding trees and rocks. Carl and Newgate stepped back simultaneously. Clang! Newgate raised his sword to the ground. Now let's get real. Gu la la la, take the move. Click. Then I saw Newgate bending down to attack, swinging out his right fist fiercely, and the space in front of him was shattered like glass. Carl immediately felt a strong impact, rushing towards him unstoppably, making him feel that the space around him was locked, and at the same time it brought a strong sense of crisis. Knowing that he could no longer hesitate, he instantly used his thunder method and rushed towards Newgate like an unstoppable thunder. Thunder in the palm. Carl's right palm instantly shot out a bolt of thunder, quickly attacking Newgate. Thunder fruit? Newgate just expressed the question in his heart. Gia ha 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 ha. Carl actually has the power of lightning. Is he a devil fruit? It's a pity that the recruitment was too late. The Golden Lion was in midair hating why he didn't meet Carl immediately and include him in his team. Well, I want to have a baby with Carl even more. Charlotte Linlin was the first to attribute Carl's ability to possess thunder and lightning to his bloodline, because as far as she knew, Carl's had not eaten devil fruit so far. While everyone present was surprised, the thunder struck Newgate instantly. Although Newgate covered his whole body with armament hockey in time, the numbness still swept through his body in an instant. He immediately sensed something was wrong, this was so powerful. He felt the thunder in his body kept scurrying around, and he couldn't suppress it. What he didn't know was that Carl's thunder was not just like thunderfruit, but the natural power between heaven and earth. Of course ordinary people can't stop it. Wow! Newgate then couldn't help but vomit a mouthful of blood. That's great, Carl. Newgate wiped the blood from his mouth. But this little bit of damage can't hurt Newgate at all, and Newgate's physical recovery ability is also very strong. He immediately adjusted his physical condition and quickly launched a counterattack. Then he stepped on the ground with his feet, brandished his hockey sword, and flew towards Carl quickly. The battle between Newgate and Carl became more and more intense. The two men's movements were as fast as lightning, which was dizzying. There were afterimages everywhere in the sky. It was obvious that the two sides fought too fast and left afterimages in the human retina. Newgate roared like a beast, each punch exuding infinite power with the power of shockfruit, making the surrounding air tremble. Carl showed no sign of weakness. Thunderfist. Carl melted the thunder method into his fist and burst out a dazzling lightning to fight against it. During the fight, the two men's kicks were equally powerful. Newgate swept his kicks, while Carl used a lightning-fast chain kick. Their legs and feet collided in the air, making a deafening sound. Newgate suddenly changed his tactics, stretched out his left hand, and grabbed Carl's shoulder. With quick eyesight and quick hands, Carl used iron body-like defensive skills to block Newgate's attack. Then, Carl threw an uppercut that hit Newgate on the chin, causing Newgate to take a few steps back. Newgate laughed, as if he was excited about his mistakes. After all, he rarely made mistakes, which also allowed him to find a little pleasure in fighting. He rushed towards Carl again, his arms covered with a layer of dark armament hockey, and smashed towards Carl. Carl was not afraid, his fist emitted a dazzling golden light and collided with Newgate's fist. The fists clashed, creating a huge shock wave that shook the entire island and caused dust to fly. The ships not far away rose and fell instantly with the big waves. Many weak pirates had blood overflowing from their ears. But they don't want to miss this, the top battle between squad leaders. It's fun to watch, everyone has an 8 trigrams mentality. Gia ha ha ha. John, you have no hope of revenge. Golden Lion Shaki said with a mocking look. He knew that John was still thinking about how to take revenge on Carl behind his back. John had an ugly look on his face and did not speak. He also knew that with Carl's current strength, his revenge plan could be cancelled. Final blow. Newgate unleashed his own conqueror's hockey straight away. Suddenly an extremely oppressive momentum burst out. Ripples spread outward from the island, impacting wildly outwards, destroying the majestic momentum. The pirates on the boat were pressed like a mountain and couldn't breathe, and a large number of pirates fell down in an instant. This kind of hockey can only be owned by one person in a million, but there are many in Rock's Pirate. Okay, come on. When Carl sensed this conqueror's hockey, there was also a faint wave response in his body. Carl felt the power immediately and released it instantly. Although this power is relatively weak, it seems to be overwhelming and makes people feel awe. When Carl's conqueror's hockey collided with Newgate's, the entire scene changed in an instant. There was an invisible pressure in the air, making people shudder. The surrounding things seemed to be under a huge impact and began to tremble. The leaves fell one after another, the waves rolled and roared, and the sky seemed to be torn apart, with dark clouds and thunder and lightning. Oh, Conqueror's hockey! Golden Lion expressed surprise. He didn't expect Carl to actually own Conqueror's hockey. Well, I like him even more. Charlotte Linlin looked at Carl with a look of infatuation. Damn it. John remembered his stupid plan and silently sentenced him to death in his heart. Carl? At this time, in the hall at the center of Beehive Island, Rox let out a low groan. You're quite capable. You must know that Conqueror's hockey is the standard equipment of a top powerhouse. Without Conquerors, you may not necessarily become a top powerhouse, but with Conquerors, you will definitely become one of the top powerhouses. Ha ha ha. This will make the overall strength stronger again. My plan should be okay. Chapter 28 Accident Newgate's eyes became extremely majestic, making people afraid to look directly at him. He increased the output of Conqueror's hockey and pressed towards Carl. He didn't expect that Carl actually had Conqueror's hockey, and he wanted to see if he could help Carl further master Conqueror's hockey. Carl felt the enhancement of Newgate's hockey, and he also released more Conqueror's hockey. Circles of ripple like black halo appeared behind him, exuding a frightening aura. Under the cover of the two Conquerors' hockey, the atmosphere instantly became tense. Carl knew that his Conqueror's hockey could not resist for long, and he had to attack first to break the deadlock. Then he covered all his abilities with his fist, and his fist shone with purple, gold, and black lights. He then led the attack. Carl quickly waved his fist forward, and a sonic boom sounded from the air. The speed was so fast that those present could only see afterimages. Carl's fist had already struck, and before the punch was released, there was a loud bang from behind Newgate, and then an astonishing shockwave was formed, and it was like turning into a violent wind and sweeping everything present. Well done. Newgate did not expect that Carl would attack him first, but this also showed that Carl's Conqueror's hockey had reached its current limit. Empty shock. He quickly swung out the right hand that covered armament hockey and swung it forward fiercely. In the blink of an eye, their fists collided. Under the impact of this force, the ships in the distance began to shatter, the ground beneath their feet cracked, and the surrounding trees were uprooted by the airwave. The island beneath its feet couldn't bear the force, exploded instantly, and gradually sank to the bottom of the sea. Although the two of them haven't fully enjoyed the fight yet, since it has become like this, they can only give up for the time being. They jumped onto the ships on the sea. It's so enjoyable. I'll come again if I have the chance. Carl experienced such a passionate battle for the first time, and he fell in love with the adrenaline rush. No problem. Newgate said nonchalantly. He also rarely takes a full shot. Let's go back. Carl gave the order for Clay to sail the ship back to Beehive Island. After all, the battle was over, and there was no point in staying here. He needs to have a good understanding of observation hockey and Conqueror's hockey. After all, he has only preliminary mastery. He wants to further control Conqueror's hockey based on his current feelings. For the next period of time, there was no ripples on the island. Soon, as time gradually passed, it was almost time for the Rox to attack that franchise country. The pirates on the island are preparing to attack the Kingdom of Tyre. After all, the Kingdom of Tyre is not a small country. Clay has also completely mastered the Golden Light spell, but his Golden Light spell seems very thin. Clay still takes them for training in the woods behind every day. Under the leadership of Clay, hundreds of orphans and Long Yi and Long practiced 5 elements boxing vigorously. Because with sufficient nutrition on the island, the physiques of hundreds of orphans and Long Yi and Long have gradually become the same as those of normal children. They have basically mastered the 5 elements boxing, but they lack practical experience. Originally, we should not take Long Yi and Long with us when we go to sea to conquer the Kingdom of Tyre. After all, their strength is far inferior. But because the two of them kept begging, they felt that they had trained well and wanted to go out and see the world. But little did they know that this was the new world, with lower strength and not even qualified to sail. Just let us go. Carl looked at their pleading and didn't refuse. Anyway, the two of them were almost as powerful as Commodore. Of course, it was mainly because Clay was watching, so the problem shouldn't be big. But you have to listen to Clay, otherwise there will be no next time. Although Carl was talking, his eyes were looking at Clay, because in his opinion, these two little guys were not strong enough to gain a foothold outside and Clay had to be watching them at all times. Otherwise, if there was an accident, all your hard work will be in vain. We must obey. At this time, Long Yi and Long seemed very well behaved. But only Clay knows how naughty the two of them are when they are not training. The two of them are secretly the little devils in their 6th team. Although he was assured, Carl did not see the cunning look in their eyes when the two of them lowered their heads. What the two of them were thinking about must be how to get out of Clay's control. After assigning the tasks, Carl ordered his pirates to prepare for sailing. The coast was suddenly bustling with people, and pirates were everywhere carrying items onto the ship. After all, attacking the Kingdom of Tyre still requires a lot of artillery fire. A few days ago, Kuro Island was the base camp of the giant pirates. What? Little 13 is dead. When Jorel, the captain of the Titanic pirates, heard the news, he vented wildly in the room and smashed the entire house to pieces. Because Morgan's has not yet established a news agency, the newspaper's information transmission speed is very slow. It's been almost a month, and he actually just received the news. The messenger soldier in front of him was trembling, sometimes afraid of Jorel's aura. Have you found out who did it? According to the information from the informant, it is Carl, the new captain of Division 6 of Rock's Pirate. The 13th young master just sneaked out and met Carl on the sea. Somehow, he was killed by Carl. No more specific content has been received. The messenger knew that Krululu would often sneak out. It's just that some people usually regard him as the 13th son of the giant soldier pirates, so they won't be cruel to him, but Carl doesn't know. Even if Carl knows, he won't be afraid. This is provocation. Rox is provoking us. Summon the captains of each division. Jorel immediately summoned the captains of all major divisions. Soon the captains of each division came over. Captain, what's the matter? The captain is here. Vice Captain Fred had already known the news in advance and asked the captains present to quiet down. I just received the news that my 13th son Krolru died in the hands of Captain Carl of the 6th Division of Rock's Pirate a month ago. What? There has just been peace. How dare they take the lead in provoking a fight? Angelo, the captain of the 4th team, was a little angry, because in their view, since they allied with the ex-pirates, the Rock's Pirate did not dare to confront them head-on. If that's the case, let's fight. The captain of the 2nd Division, Aloy, is a man who doesn't take things too seriously. In his opinion, they will have a battle with Rock's Pirate sooner or later, and it is the same whether they fight early or late. Do you want to inform X? Vice Captain Fred was a little worried, while Fred was a little sober. After all, their pirate group alone couldn't defeat the Rock's Pirate. If it weren't for the alliance between the two pirate groups, the second half of New World might have been occupied by Rocks, and there would be nothing to do with them. No, we're just going to have a talk and ask them to hand over their 6th Division captain. Besides, I received news that Rocks is not on the island now. Captain Jorel was a little arrogant, because since the two of them formed an alliance, Rock's Pirate had never provoked them again. He thought Rock's Pirate was afraid of them, not to mention that since Rocks was not on the island, he was even more worried. Nothing to fear anymore. What he didn't know was that this was just a ploy by Rocks to lure them into a trap. After Rocks found out that Carl had killed Krolru, he immediately released the false news. He didn't expect that Jorel would actually be fooled. It had to be said that the giants really didn't have much research on strategies, and the giants' IQs were generally not high. In fact, he just had a trying mentality. He could deal with them directly if they came over, and there would be no loss if they didn't come over. Moreover, Rock's Pirate is preparing to attack the Kingdom of Tyre. After all, the Kingdom of Tyre is a big country in the New World, with a population of more than 2 million. All the people in the Kingdom of Tyre are soldiers, and there are as many as 500,000 people who can fight, and admiral-level battles there is also a lot of strength. So Rocks is not telling him that he doesn't want to deal with them, but that he has more important things to do. Order the pirates under my command to gather together. I'm going to find Rocks to seek justice. Jorel couldn't wait any longer, and he thought Rocks was afraid of him. After all, they formed an alliance with the ex-pirates, which gave him enough confidence and even some arrogance. Should we leave some people at home? Fred knew that Rocks had been waiting for an opportunity, and now that they were looking for Rock's Pirate alone, wouldn't it be like a lamb being delivered to their door? If this news is not true, wouldn't they? After all, Rocks has long wanted to unify the second half of the Grand Line, but the alliance between the two of them has made Rocks unable to do so for the time being. But that doesn't mean they can go meet Rocks alone. Jorel was a little too arrogant, not to mention that this time he thought he was just looking for an explanation. He wanted Rocks to hand over Carl. His original intention was not to start a war, but the development of things will not go as he thought at all. Chapter 29 The giant pirates attack. No need to leave anyone behind, everyone comes with me. Maybe the giants are relatively straightforward by nature, so they don't do a lot of research on strategy, and the giants tend to be arrogant. Seeing that he couldn't persuade the deputy captain, Fred, he had no choice but to make arrangements immediately. Get on the boat quickly. Bring this up. The crew of the Joral pirates hurriedly prepared their things and prepared to travel. Although a battle was not necessarily required, occasional small frictions among pirates were inevitable. What if a fight breaks out over a disagreement, so you still have to be well prepared? Soon dozens of large ships were ready on the coast. Joral stood on the deck of the pirate ship. He was 30 meters tall, which was considered tall among the giants. Just standing on the deck, the momentum he released was enough to make his fellow pirates' breaths freeze. Joral spoke, his voice was unruly and domineering, as if it had its own magic power. My son Krulru is dead. This is a provocation from Rock's pirate. We must avenge this. Kill towards the Beehive Island. When Joral gave the order to attack, the pirates became excited. After all, this was a rare big scene. Because it was not only the captain who was traveling this time, but also the captains of each division. They are Captain Joral, Vice Captain Fred, Captain Herman of the first team, Aloy, Captain of the second team, Bacula, Captain of the third team, and Angelo, Captain of the fourth team. This is definitely an unprecedented lineup that goes to sea. The last time such a lineup was fought against the Nox pirates at sea. At this time, there were only some pirates left on Kullo Island to look after the house. Ouch! Kill towards the Beehive Island. This is really a big scene. Yes, I haven't seen such a scene for a long time. Pirate passerby A and passerby B were quietly talking to the side. The pirates looked at the captains. Having them lead the team immediately gave the pirates present a lot of confidence. As the roars ended, dozens of ships set sail and sailed toward the Beehive Island. Beehive Island. Carl was still teaching Long Yi and Long Tu physical thunder skills this morning. The only golden light spell they had was ink painting, and they had basically mastered it. As for the ordinary adopted orphans, they are still practicing 5 elements Quan. After all, their physical fitness is too poor and they need a certain amount of time to cultivate. 5 elements Quan is just used to lay the foundation for them. After all, the physical difference is a threshold that they cannot cross, but fortunately they are still young, and Carl does not need them to complete any tasks now. Long Yi, Long next you must master the thunder method. Sure enough, the Dragon Man's physique is not something that can't be fixed. The strength of his bloodline gives him a natural advantage. At the same time, after mastering the operation method of the golden light spell, Carl handed over the operation method of the thunder method to them, and they quickly understood it, but they were not yet proficient. If placed under one person, these 2 children would definitely be once-in-a-lifetime geniuses. Captain Carl, Rock summoned the captains for a meeting. Oh, did you say something? There is no Captain Carr. The person who informed me just said that the division captains were summoned to assemble, but did not say anything specific. The pirates who came to report did not know what happened specifically. After all, they were about to attack the Kingdom of Tyre. Okay, Long Yi, Long you 2 practice well, I'll go out for a while. After Carl handed Long 1 and Long 2 to Clay, he quickly walked towards the meeting hall. He guessed that it was about attacking the Kingdom of Tyre. You 2 are really loved by the Kaldar people. Clay actually already knew that the lightning that Carl mastered was an ability that could be cultivated on his own, not a devil fruit ability. Although he was envious, he knew that he didn't even understand the golden light spell, and he was still far away from learning the thunder method. Long 1 and Long 2 both smiled and said nothing. They did not want to hurt Clay's self-esteem. Although they were young, their grasp of the world was better than that of any adult. After all, if they were not good, they would not be alive now. Inside the council chamber, the captain suddenly called us all over. Is there something wrong? John looked at Rox immediately, because he knew that Rox usually didn't have any big events and would not call them together, but hadn't he already planned to attack the Kingdom of Tyre today? Gia ha 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 ha. Who knows? During the scene, Shaki lit a cigar and looked a little impatient, because he was dealing with some business in the dark world. He had been preparing for the branch house for a long time, and suddenly received a notice. Who knew how much he would lose? Rox didn't say anything. He just glanced at Shiki lightly and showed a little momentum. Of course Rox knows this about them, and everyone doesn't really want to join his pirate group. Who gave him the big fist? But he doesn't care about these people's affairs. In his opinion, as long as they are still in his pirate group, he can still command them, and he will not care about other things because he believes that fist power is power. Shiki found Rox looking at him and calmed down the arrogant expression on his face. After all, he was still very afraid of Rox. Well, Shiki, it affects me from eating cake. Charlotte Linlin was holding a huge piece of cake and chewing chunks. She was shocked by Rox's momentum, so she quickly issued a warning. She didn't want to get into a fight halfway through eating. John and Ochaku are sitting upright, they are Rox's most loyal men. Seeing that Rox didn't speak, they guessed that he was waiting for everyone to arrive before speaking. At this moment, Carl walked in. Seeing that everyone present had arrived, he quickly found a seat close to him and sat down. Carl, you're here. Just as Carl sat down, Nugite greeted Carl with a smile when he saw him coming. Carl lived a little further inside the island and was the last of everyone to come over because Carl liked the quiet. Did you say anything? Not yet. While Carl and Nugate were whispering. Ha ha ha. Rox saw that all the captains had arrived. He laughed first and then explained the situation to the witnesses present. It turned out that Carl had killed Klulu more than 10 days ago. Jorel received the news some time ago and wanted to avenge his son. So the whole group was dispatched and heading towards Beehive Island. Rox received the inside news immediately and learned that this time they were truly dispatching the whole group, and there were not many people left on the island. And this time it was the giant soldier pirates, a pirate group who came alone and did not bring the ex-pirates with them. Rox sat in the center seat and burst out laughing. It is not difficult to see that Rox is very happy now. After all, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Maybe he can take advantage of this opportunity to dominate the second half of the Grand Line, and he will be the real uncrowned king. Rox didn't expect that the giant pirates would be fooled by just a casual move. At this time, he was a little lucky that he made this casual move, otherwise wouldn't he have missed this opportunity? Although we are going to attack the Kingdom of Tyre today, we might as well take care of the giant pirates first. Giant pirates. If we hadn't been in a hurry to attack the Kingdom of Tyre, what would have happened to him? Golden Lion instantly transferred his anger to the giant soldier pirates. After all, in his opinion, if the giant soldier pirates hadn't attacked, he might have finished handling his men's affairs and wouldn't have caused any losses. Everyone present immediately understood that Captain Rock's purpose of summoning them was to take advantage of this opportunity to unify the Grand Line. This is great. Ochaku's fat face suddenly became very excited, because he was Rock's most loyal subordinate and had long wanted to wipe out the giant pirates and the Atesh pirates. He didn't expect this opportunity to come so suddenly. Chapter 30 War begins. Captain Rox. The members of the giant soldier pirates have arrived at the island at the front. Beehive Island is surrounded by dozens of islands of various sizes. The people who came to deliver the news this time were the island guards at the front, who contacted the people on the Beehive Island by phone. The guest is finally here. We can't keep the guest waiting. Let's go. After saying that, Rox walked towards the port with his square steps with excitement on his face. Get the cannon ready. When Rox received the news, he immediately asked the pirates on the island to prepare to take down the giant pirates in one fell swoop. So before they even reached the port, the armed forces around the port had already been prepared. Clay took Long Yi with him, and Long stopped when they were still 1,000 meters away from the port. They stood on the building and watched the scene on the sea. After all, rather than leaving them alone, it would be much better to just keep them by your side and take care of them. After all, Clay knew how courageous they were. If someone didn't take good care of them and ran to the battlefield and were injured, he would not be sorry for Lord Carl's entrustment to him. Coming. At this moment, Long Yi was lying on the house, looking at the depths of the sea with his narrow telescope. He saw a huge fleet speeding towards their direction. Really? Brother, show me. Long and Long Yi immediately started to grab the telescope. Okay, stop making trouble, I'm telling you too. Don't leave my sight when we start fighting, do you hear me? I heard it, Brother Clay. Long Yi and Long immediately answered obediently. But the more well-behaved they were, the more cautious Clay became, because he knew how lawless these two bullies were when Carl was away. Captain, Beehive Island has arrived. The pirates at the observation tower immediately reported the information to Jorel. I've sensed them. Jorel was standing on the deck. His observation hockey had sensed that Golden Lion and several other captains were standing at the port, waiting for their arrival. As the two forces gradually approached, the sky gradually began to be filled with dark clouds. There were strong winds blowing all over the sea, and it looked like the end of the world was coming. Jorel is very tall, 30 meters tall, and his body also exudes a terrifying aura, which makes people shudder. Did my son die in your hands? When the giant pirates were about to arrive at the shore, Jorel shouted to Karl. His voice was as deafening as thunder. After all, he had seen Karl's photo and immediately recognized Karl standing at the port. Who is your son? Karl asked questions, because he didn't know that the person he casually killed on his way back from the Phil Kingdom was Jorel's son. Jorel, how dare you come to my territory to provoke me? Today I will let you know who is the real strong one. After speaking, Rox standing aside exuded a powerful conqueror's haki. His eyes were fixed on Jorel, and a strong fighting spirit arose spontaneously. Rox, why are you here? Jorel immediately questioned his soul. He received the news that Rox was not on this island. Is it fake news? At this time, his brain was running wildly. I spread the news. I didn't expect you, a person with strong limbs, to actually believe it. Gia ha 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 ha. Now that you're here, don't leave. Rox has been looking forward to their separate operations with the ex-pirates. This time as a natural opportunity. For this reason, it doesn't matter if we attack the kingdom of Tyre a little slower. Rox didn't waste any more words and rushed towards Jorel in an instant. His speed was very fast, but his small body brought with him an 8-level gust of wind. Armament Haki's fists and kicks wrapped in Rox hit Jorel like a strong wind. Although he knew that he had been fooled, Jorel, as a warrior of the giant clan, had no habit of running away from the battlefield and immediately counterattacked, and now was not the time to retreat. Just as they were attacking, Golden Lion Newgate and others also joined the battle group and faced off against the division captains of the giant soldier pirates one by one. They each found their opponents. Golden Lion faced Fred, the deputy leader of the giant pirates, Newgate faced Herman, the captain of the first team, and John and the prince joined forces to barely resist the captain of the second team, Roy. As for the captain of the third team, Bacula, was handed over to Charlotte Linlin, and the remaining captain of the fourth team, Angelo, naturally belonged to Karl. At the same time, the ships of the giant pirates docked one after another and had a close encounter with the pirates on the shore. The battle started in an instant. Dang dang dang. The battle between Jorel and Rox was extremely fierce. Every collision of fists and feet made a deafening sound, making the surrounding air tremble. Their speed became faster and faster, and their strength became stronger. It seemed that the entire battlefield was falling into an endless war. In the storm. The surrounding pirates also left their fighting area to avoid being affected by the fighting. The battlefield was suddenly divided into 6 blank areas, and the aftermath of the captain-level battle was enough to tear ordinary pirates into pieces. Bang! You are Karl, right? You are pretty good. You're not bad either, Angelo. In a certain battle circle, Karl was facing Angelo, the captain of the 4th division of the giant pirates. Angelo is a giant, and with his huge body, every move and every life brings a huge sense of oppression. And don't think that because they are giants, they don't move quickly enough. On the contrary, in Karl's view, they move even faster. And all these captain-level giants have realized the two-color haki. Karl was slightly inferior to him in terms of strength for a while. But Karl incorporated lightning into every move, gradually paralyzing Angelo's body. But at this moment, Long Yi and Long were running quietly around the battlefield. They took advantage of Clay's attention being attracted by the scene of people attacking on the battlefield, and immediately escaped from his control. Soon the two of them faced off against the captain of a giant pirate group. Children, pirates are not just a house game. Although he said this pirate was not polite when he carried a big sword and waved it towards Long Yi and Long Ha, we're not afraid. Ha ha ha, come on then. The pirate captain didn't say too much nonsense. He raised his long sword and struck at the two of them fiercely. Although Long 1 and Long 2 did not carry weapons, their fists were wrapped in golden light spells, and they were fighting with the team leader for a while. Hey, where are the people? Although Clay was attracted by the battle on the field, it was only for a short moment. Then he turned around and found that Long Yi and Long were missing. He quickly looked around and found that he was not around. So he quickly glanced around the battlefield. He immediately spotted two inconspicuous little golden lights on the left side of the battlefield. After a closer look, there was no doubt that it was them, and Clay rushed over immediately. Chapter 31 The balance begins to tip, golden light spell. Long took advantage of Long Yi's entanglement with the squad leader and immediately used his golden light spell to hold the pirate's left leg. The pirate immediately felt the restraint on his body and turned to look at Long 5 elements fistfire. Long Yi immediately found the opportunity to hit the pirate's chest. In an instant, the pirate's chest was pierced by Long Yi. Well, you, the captain of this pirate squad, did not expect that he would die today at the hands of a child he looked down upon. Let me go. But at this time, Clay quickly ran to their side, holding one in each hand, and pulled them out of the battlefield. I didn't notice either of you two, did you? Hey, brother Clay. Long had a flattering smile on his face and was the first to show his kindness. He knew that Clay would do this. Forget it, I'll deal with you when I get back. Clay's face was a little solemn, but he also knew that he couldn't say anything to them now. Fortunately, nothing serious happened. He could only wait until he got back to find an opportunity to deal with them. He looked around cautiously and hurriedly retreated outside the battlefield. Wave. At this time, there was a turning point on the battlefield. In a corner of the battlefield, an exciting battle is taking place between the great swordsman Golden Lion Shiki and the vice-captain of the giant pirates, Fred. Golden Lion and Fred each showed amazing strength. Golden Lion wielded 2 swords, and his swordsmanship was as fierce as a violent storm. As a giant, Fred has a huge body and powerful strength. He swung a huge hammer, and every blow made a deafening sound, as if the whole sky was shaking. Despite Fred's strength, the Golden Lion always finds opportunities to attack thanks to his superb skills. The battle gradually entered a fierce stage. Vice-Captain Fred was gradually at a disadvantage under the attack of Golden Lion Shiki. His huge body was already covered with large and small wounds, and blood was soaked all over his body. Under the sunlight, Fred's body was covered with blood, and the ferocious face is very scary. After all, Shiki is now at the peak of his strength, and his blade is covered with conquerors winding at all times. You know, Shiki once almost killed Roger. If it hadn't been for that huge storm and saved Roger, we still don't know who is the real Pirate King. Gia ha ha ha. 2 blades, Lion Thousand Slice Valley. Shiki immediately noticed that Fred's physical strength was gradually declining and it was becoming difficult to dodge, so he immediately found the right opportunity. After all, for top experts, once a flaw is exposed, victory or defeat can only happen in an instant. The speed and power of this move reached an unprecedented level, and even the sky was torn apart. The Golden Lion was floating in the air, holding swords in both hands, extremely arrogant, and armament hockey was fully opened in an instant. At this moment, not only the 2 swords, but even the entire body and the surrounding air were rendered with dark armament hockey. In an instant, 2 golden sword auras were transmitted from his 2 swords, intertwined in the air, and roared like a lion. The terrifying sword energy swept over with a momentum that destroyed everything. Only a great swordsman could have such sharp sword energy, which was unstoppable. Fred panicked and tried to resist the Golden Lion's attack, but his body could no longer withstand such a violent attack. Although he hurriedly swung the hammer to resist, the Golden Lion's sword energy still shattered the hammer and penetrated his body. The huge body slowly fell to the ground, and his life gradually disappeared. When he was dying, he glanced in the direction of Captain Jorrel. Maybe he was regretting not stopping him. But it was no use, he even guessed the outcome of their pirate group. He gradually closed his painful eyes. In his last moments of death, he thought about what if Dory and Brogy were here. This shouldn't happen, right? It's a pity that these 2 group leaders are still missing. Quack, quack, quack. You're not bad either, Carl. Has anyone ever said your laugh sounds like a duck's quack? Only villains would talk so much nonsense. Carl looks for opportunities while irritating Angelo. Carl, you've pissed me off. Sure enough, Angelo became a little angry when he heard Carl laughing at him. In the next second, he took action with all his strength and anger, but it happened to give Carl a wonderful opportunity to attack. Thunder Fist. Carl jumped up suddenly, went to Angelo's left side, then used moonwalk to adjust his body posture in midair, and hit Angelo's left waist. Oops! Angelo discovered this problem immediately, but he had no time to adjust his posture. Pung! With a loud noise, Angelo was instantly knocked hundreds of meters away, and he was hit hard from the air to the ground. A large crater was instantly created on the ground, and the surrounding pirates were swept away dozens of meters by the airwaves. Wow! Angelo sat up and spat out a mouthful of blood, but Carl did not stop there. Carl rushed over like lightning, and a punch wrapped around armament hockey suddenly hit Angelo's head. Angelo quickly waved his right hand to resist. Bang! But it was to no avail. This attack was too strong, and the entire arm was shattered into pieces and turned into blood mist all over the sky. Ah! Carl didn't give him a chance to breathe, and he punched him again. Angelo was pressing the wound on his right arm with his left hand. Next, Angelo's head exploded like a snowball. The battle ended hastily. "Angelo, Fred, I hurt you," Jorel said sadly. "Little ones, retreat." Although Jorel was resisting Rock's attack tenaciously, he also saw the deaths of Fred and Angelo in his peripheral vision. Even most of the pirates under his banner have been killed or injured. He knew that it was his arrogance that brought about such consequences, so he couldn't help feeling a little regretful. If he had listened to Fred, this would not have happened. He gave the order just to let more members escape. After all, he couldn't retreat from this battle. Rox was already very strong and he couldn't resist it. Retreat, retreat quickly. Jorel's retreat order was obviously given relatively late. Basically all the members of the giant pirates, led by Golden Lion, have died. The only ones alive on the field now are Herman, Aloy and Bacula, but according to the situation, it won't be long before the battle ends. Why are you two here? Although Carl has ended the battle, he will not intervene in other people's battles. Because in his opinion, the odds of winning are now on their side. Even so, he was still watching the battlefield closely to avoid any accidents. At this moment, he suddenly glanced at Long Yi and Long on the side of the battlefield and found that they were on the edge of the battlefield. Carl had quickly walked to Clay's side. "Sir Carl, I'm sorry, I didn't pay attention." Clay was a little ashamed. In his opinion, he didn't pay attention to Long Yi and Long which meant he was irresponsible for Lord Carl's instructions. After all, with his strength, it is unlikely that Long Yi and Long would disappear from under his nose, who would distract him from focusing on the battle on the field. "It doesn't matter, it's nothing." Carl said it didn't matter. Now it seemed that as long as Long 1 and Long 2 didn't really have any problems, it wouldn't hurt to let them come up and try it out first. But he must be optimistic about them next time. After all, dragon human blood is still rare. The two of them will definitely become his right-hand assistants in the future. He doesn't want to suffer any losses at this time. "Yes, Lord Carl," Clay said respectfully, and at the same time he looked at Long Yi and Long with an angry look. "We will be obedient next time." The two of them admitted their mistakes very quickly. But Carl found that there was no huge loss, so the matter was left alone, and then he set his sights on the center of the battlefield. He knows that Rox is more than just the strength in front of him. "I just don't know why Rox fights so slowly. Does he have any other purpose?" Chapter 32 Destroy the Giant Pirates. What was Rox thinking? Carl didn't know. But when he looked towards the center of the battlefield, he knew that the battle was almost over. Several giant captains were gradually unable to resist the attacks of Newgate and Charlotte Linlin. After all, they only unite with the ex-pirates and can compete with the Rox pirate in front of the top powerhouses. In a single confrontation, they will only perish. Rock's devil fruit is pretty deep. Carl secretly speculated in his mind. Rock's devil fruit ability seems to have only been released during the Valley of the Gods battle. In other wars, it seems that Captain Rox has never been heard of having devil fruit abilities. But even if Rox doesn't embody devil fruit's abilities, his conqueror's hockey is definitely top-notch. Soon, the battles on the other three battlefields had ended, and now only the battle between Rox and Jorel remained. Several division captains quickly gathered together to watch the battle between Rox and Jorel. "Gia ha 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 ha, has Captain Rox's strength declined?" Golden Lion walked aside and chuckled. In his opinion, Rock's strength should not have dragged out the battle for so long. If Rock's strength has really declined, wouldn't his purpose of breaking away from the pirate group go even further? Gu la 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 la. Golden Lion, take a closer look. Newgate has a different view. In his opinion, the Rocks are honing their Conqueror's Haki. Because Rocks has Conqueror's Haki wrapped around his long sword every time he attacks. But now no one knows whether Rock's strength is at its peak or can be further improved. Well, I want to eat cake. Charlotte Linlin was a little hungry. After all, she had been fighting for so long. Although the amount of activity was not very large, she was still a little hungry. While everyone was chatting heatedly, Rocks wanted to experience the giant Hikoku. In fact, he has always wanted to experience the power of Hikoku, the unique skill of the giant kingdom. After all, only Captain Jorel of the giant pirates can use it now, and he doesn't want to challenge the giant kingdom. Although he is the top strong man in the world, if he challenges the giant kingdom, he might not be able to come back. After all, just a giant village of a few hundred people can be called the most powerful country in the world. Couldn't it be said that the hundreds of thousands of giants in the giant kingdom are the strongest in the world? He didn't want to try, and there was no need to provoke the giant kingdom. If it affected his plan, it would be more than worth the loss. Gia ha 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 ha. Jorel, where are your giant special moves? Use them and let me see. Rocks kept irritating him now, but at the same time, the long knife wrapped around Conqueror's Haki kept colliding with Jorel's sword. The two weapons collided and flashed black and purple lightning, exploding in the air. At the same time, strong winds rose around the two people, the sky cracked, and huge shockwaves swept everything around them. Jorel knew it when Rocks said this. Rocks was letting off steam during the fight with him. At the same time, he looked around the battlefield and saw that the giant pirates had been completely wiped out, leaving only him. He felt a little regretful. You must know that the giant pirates originally had 4 captains. Unexpectedly, when the pirate group was handed over to him, not only did he fail to protect the pirate group's peak, but he also led the giant pirate group to destruction. He knew that he couldn't leave today. Then do as you wish, Rocks. Since you want to see it, let's take a look at Hikoku from the giant clan. The aura around Jorel suddenly changed. His huge body was emitting dazzling blue light, and his muscles were tense. In Rock's perception, a biting sense of crisis arose spontaneously. Rocks couldn't help but feel excited. This was his first time. I felt such powerful danger for once. Jorel instantly put his weapon from his right hand horizontally in front of him, and swung it towards Rocks. The astonishing shockwave that the ordinary naked eye could not catch, the overwhelming haki, this haki almost tore apart the space. Along with a roar that was suppressed to the ultimate level, a long airwave appeared. It was not illusory, but composed entirely of energy. Well done. Rocks felt the strong shockwave. He did not dodge, but attacked with all his strength. Gia ha ha, that's it. Kamui. Rocks used one of his special moves, swinging the long knife wrapped around Conqueror's Haki, and faced the energy wave. Boom. The moment the skill touched, violent energy spread out. Wherever it passed, trees and the ground were destroyed by this force. There were cracks everywhere on the ground. 1/5 of the land on Honeycomb Island was shattered and sank to the bottom of the sea. The aftermath of the confrontation between the two split a long crack in the sky, which could not be healed for a long time. Is this my life? The scene quickly calmed down, with Rocks standing aside with a knife and Jorel kneeling on the ground. There are still some people who are not willing to accept it. I'm sorry for not living up to everyone's expectations. Jorel's eyes gradually lost their luster and he died. The great pirate who dominated the second half of the Grand Line for decades finally came to an end today. His death at the hands of Rocks did not bury the glory of his giant clan. Hurry up and clean up the battlefield. We have bigger moves ahead. This battle actually didn't have a big impact on Rocks' pirate. On the contrary, he won very easily, but just because he won so easily, Rocks immediately set his sights on the ex-pirates. Due to the current news on the sea, the newspapers are too slow to deliver the news. As long as they set off in time, they can destroy the Axe pirates before they receive the message. You two should stay away from the rest of the battle. Carl said righteously, after all, the Axe pirates are stronger than the giant soldier pirates. If one doesn't pay attention to Long Yi, Long may be damaged there. Alright. Although the two of them were somewhat reluctant, they had no choice but to give up. Gu la 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 la. Carl, your strength has become a lot stronger. Newgate had actually been observing Carl during the battle, and he found that Carl's strength was constantly increasing with the fierce battle. Newgate was a little envious of Carl's physique. I didn't expect the Titan bloodline to be so strong. Haha, thanks to brother Newgate for taking care of me. Carl is actually very grateful to Newgate. If he hadn't been living on a desert island, he wouldn't have been able to join the Rocks pirate now, and participated in so many battles, and his strength has improved dramatically. If he had worked alone behind closed doors, maybe I've been stuck on a certain threshold for a long time. He can now feel his strength growing every day. Although he knows that sooner or later he will reach the upper limit, but when his strength reaches the upper limit, he should also have enough strength to run unimpeded in the Grand Line. Chapter 33 Departing from Island, ha 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 ha. Rox stood in front of the command podium, holding a navigation chart in his hand with an excited expression on his face. His hockey voice echoed on the ship. Our next target is the X-Pirates. They are no longer a threat. The pirates on the ship got excited after hearing this. They knew that after defeating the X-Pirates, the Rox family would dominate the second half of the Grand Line. Golden Lion stood beside Rox and nodded silently in agreement. Rox's height almost exceeds the side of the boat, and his long black hair flutters in the wind, which also represents his firm belief. Edward Newgate, after thinking for a moment, said, "We have to rush over and eliminate them before they receive the news. This way we can unify the second half of the Grand Line." Rox nodded and unfolded the navigation chart on the command platform. He pointed at the red mark on it. "This is Island, which is also the base camp of the X-Pirate ship. We will launch an attack here." Golden Lion, Newgate and others looked at the navigation chart attentively and remembered this goal. They knew this battle would end with victory at Rox Beach. Ready to go. Rox's voice resounded throughout the port, and the pirates immediately became busy. They checked their weapons, adjusted their sails, and prepared for the coming battle. The large pirate fleet slowly left the port and headed towards Island. The Rox have been waiting for this day for a long time. He stood atop the Xebec, overlooking the vast sea. At the beginning, top pirate groups emerged endlessly on the sea, and many powerful opponents fiercely competed for territory and wealth on the sea. But as time went by, slowly, only 3 groups remained, standing on 3 pillars. Now, Rox is finally about to realize his first plan. As long as his pirate group can unify the second half of the Grand Line, it will be able to attract more pirate members to join, providing him with enough power to realize that great plan. Rox turned to face the crowd, his eyes revealing arrogance and determination. At the same time, he ordered John, Ochaku and Kaido to go to Kuro Island, the base camp of the giant soldier pirates, to clean up the mess and gather the wealth on the island. The rest of the people on the other side will go to Island with Rox. This is a critical moment, and Rox knows that once his plan is realized, his pirate group will receive more support and resources to help his great goal. A burning desire arose in his heart. He had been waiting for this day for too long. God is really helping me. I didn't expect the plan to go so smoothly. Rox also didn't expect that just a small plan could actually facilitate his plan for the second half of the Grand Line. There were still 6 or 7 hours to go from Island, and Rox returned to the cabin first. Well, Shaki, do me a favor. Charlotte Linlin said softly, with a hint of cunning in her eyes. I want to have a baby with Carl. You can make any conditions. Charlotte Linlin pursed her lips and stared at Shaki firmly. When everyone separated, Charlotte Linlin approached Golden Lion Shaki alone. After all, in Charlotte Linlin's view, Carl's strength is still growing rapidly. Once his strength exceeds theirs, it will be even harder to use strength. It would be better to get Carl drunk before his strength has reached its peak, and the success rate may be higher. After all, she had long discovered that Carl was too drunk. The two looked at each other silently, and time seemed to stand still for a moment. Gia ha 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 ha. Golden Lion did not expect that Charlotte Linlin actually wanted to use tricks against Carl. But he also learned from the side how strong Charlotte Linlin was in wanting to have a child with Carl. In fact, Shaki was also a little envious. After all, he also learned that Carl had Titan blood, And he also saw that his physique has been growing continuously during this period, as if there is far no upper limit. I never thought that you, an old woman, would one day beg me for help. Okay, I'll do you a favor this time. After Golden Lion thought carefully, he decided to grant Charlotte Linlin this opportunity. After all, if he wanted to escape from Rock's pirate, he would need enough help. But what he didn't know was that this favor fell apart before he could use Rock's pirate. Remember to owe me a favor. This is what Golden Lion is considering. In his opinion, this will be a powerful boost for him to break away from Rock's pirate. But Charlotte Linlin doesn't care about this favor. In her opinion, only direct bloodlines can be trusted among pirates. Therefore, the stronger the bloodline ability, the stronger her power, so Carl's Titan bloodline is something she cannot miss. And in the later period, Charlotte Linlin indeed relied on blood to establish the Charlotte Pirates, and they were particularly productive. Clay followed Carl to Newgate's room because Carl wanted to know if the ex-pirates had any demon fruit power that needed special attention. After all, the regular devil fruit in the world of pirates has too many abilities, and he is also afraid of capsizing in the gutter. Newgate, is there anyone in the Axe Pirates who needs special attention? After all, Carl had only joined the Rocks Pirate for a short period of time, and he already knew a rough idea of the various forces on the sea. During this period of time, he was constantly fighting, and he had no time to calm down and understand the forces on the sea. There is indeed one. Newgate pondered for a moment and said. Barak, the captain of X's 3rd Division. He is the owner of the poison fruit. It can be considered a relatively difficult opponent. Having said this, Newgate frowned slightly, and it seemed that he had suffered a lot. After speaking, Newgate picked up the wine bottle and took a sip of wine before his brows relaxed. Poison fruit, if I remember correctly, isn't this the devil fruit ability of the warden of the underwater prison at the beginning of the plot? But I didn't pay much attention to him, and I forgot his name, but I still remember the poisonous fruit moves. The rest is nothing. Newgate thought about it carefully, and Baroque should be the only one in the Axe Pirates with special abilities. Newgate is not afraid of others either. With his shock fruit, he is enough to sweep through everything. After hearing this, I knew that there should be nothing to pay attention to for the time being. Finally, Newgate and I had a drink in the house for a while, and then returned to the cabin. Clay. How is their training going now? But you know that Carl is caring about Long Yi, Long and the two of them. I would like to report to Mr. Carl, Long Yi and Long have mastered the Golden Light spell skillfully. As for the Thunder method, I don't know the progress yet because I haven't practiced it. The 5 Elements Fist has also been practiced very impressively. That's good. You should practice hard. When you fully master the Golden Light spell, I will also pass on the Thunder method to you. Thank you, Lord Carl. Chapter 34 Island. By the time they reached Island, it was already dark. And since the secret sentry of the ex-pirates had been cleared by them long ago, no one noticed when they landed on the island. Rocks led them straight to the ex-pirates' lair, hoping to catch them off guard. Dry. Did you collect a lot of money again today? Haha, there's everything there, no more, no more. From the sounds coming from the island, they vaguely knew that today was a good day for the Axe Pirates to gather. Today, the islands within their sphere of influence offered protection fees and a large amount of gold and silver jewelry. Today is also the day. Their annual big banquet. The main members of the ex-pirates are all inside. When Rox felt that the main members were inside, he immediately began to assign tasks. Leave X to me and divide the rest among yourselves. Ha 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 ha. Wave. Rox didn't give them time to choose carefully, but waved his hockey sword directly after he finished speaking. A huge crescent-shaped sword energy slashed towards the middle of the venue. Who? It's not good to have enemies. Where did you come from with no eyes open? All the pirates here suddenly woke up and picked up their weapons to start a confrontation with the Rox pirate. Rox? X sat in the main seat and stood up in shock. What is Rox pirate? Why are they here? Why is there no report? While the members of the ex-pirates were surprised at how Rox and the others landed on the island, X never thought that Rox pirate would suddenly appear on the island. After all, several years have passed since the last war, and they have been living in peace until now. But since he has seen Rox coming here, there is no way he is here to attend his banquet. Ha 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 ha. Jorel is dead, you are next. Rox stood high and pointed the long knife at Akers. Just as X was still thinking about why Jorel died, was it false news? He looked up and saw Rox flying towards him. He also knew that now was not the time to think about this. Now that Rox had arrived on the island, the only thing left to do was fight. The boys are ready to fight. Ouch, come on. Let them see how powerful we are. Soon, a large number of pirates attacked Rox pirate. Gia ha ha ha. My old friend Durant. Lion Thousand Slice Valley. Golden Lion took the lead in giving a friendly greeting to his old rival Durant. 2 golden sword auras were transmitted from the 2 swords, and the 2 sword auras intertwined in the air, making a roaring sound like a lion. The terrifying cross-sword energy swept over with a momentum that destroyed everything. Only a great swordsman can have such sharpness and unstoppable strength. Meteor Slash. Durant quickly stepped forward and showed off his special skills, confronting the Golden Lion, and the battlefield was split into 2 in an instant. At the same time, Newgate and Charlotte Linlin also approached the opponent's captain. At this time, Carl discovered that the captain of the 3rd Division, Barlock, was not here, leaving him without an opponent who could match his strength for a while. But at the same time, I began to think that he might be transferring the wealth of the ex-pirates. So he quickly released observation hockey. Sure enough, I felt a breath, flying to the back of the island at high speed. He quickly sent out a slash wave to clear away the minions in front of him, and then followed closely. I didn't expect that Jorel, who is such a bad guy, would be quietly solved by Rox. Now we have to run for our lives. The person who spoke was the captain of the 3rd Division, Balak. The moment he saw Rox appear, he quickly ran towards the treasure pile in the back mountain. In his opinion, since Rox has been found, the matter is irreversible, so escaping is real. Boom! A huge wave of air swept across the entire island in an instant. Ha 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 ha. X, you're slacking off. Rox's voice spread throughout the island, causing some weak pirates to fall to the ground. Apparently he's unleashing his overbearing conqueror's haki. Clang. The loud sound gradually faded away. Baroque had already walked to a cave. There was no doorway through which he could enter. I saw Baroque gently twisting the stone in the cave. Kaka. The door suddenly heard a harsh clicking sound, and then a door opened in front of it. Carl followed closely, carefully covering his aura to avoid being noticed by Baroque. It's too late, so I can only take away the important things first. Baroque rushed in as soon as he saw the door open. There were 15 iron boxes on the platform inside. Obviously the most precious thing was the devil fruit. Baroque found a bag, put 5 iron boxes in it, and carried it on his back. It seemed that the value of these 5 fruits should be higher. After all, if he took all the devil fruit, the Rox pirate must know that someone had escaped, so he couldn't run away, he could only pick the one with stronger ability. Just when he was about to turn around, he suddenly stopped. Come out. It was very quiet in the cave for a while. You are very careful, but your breath betrays you. For the top experts, judging whether there is someone around is not just about using sight and smell. The sound of breathing in the air, the faint sound of heartbeat, and the decrease of mosquitoes, rats and ants can all be used to judge whether there is someone hiding here. And Baroque felt the faint heartbeat for the first time. The man was hiding at the door waiting for him to go out. Ah, you have discovered this. Carl scratched his head from behind the door and walked in. How did you find me? In Carl's opinion, he should have hidden it well without any flaws. It is impossible for a person to stop his heart from beating. My hearing happens to be very amazing. I can clearly hear my heartbeat within 100 meters. From Baroque's point of view, it was already quite impressive that Carl had followed him all the way and was only discovered now. I see. I didn't expect you to be so pervert. Carl thought that he had never seen anyone with such perfect hearing. Stop talking and come on. Baroque placed the bag at his feet and then assumed an attack stance. Okay, I want to talk to you more, Poison Dragon. Baroque, on the other hand, had no intention of chatting with Geyer. He waved his right hand, and instantly a dragon composed of poison rushed towards Carl. It looks like he's not easy to mess with. Carl immediately noticed that a little bit of liquid dripped onto the ground the moment the poisonous dragon appeared, instantly corroding a small pit. He knew that if this poisonous dragon touched his body, he might not be able to hold on for long. Shave. Slash wave. He first used marine six styles to hide aside, then swung his long sword, and a golden sword energy flew towards Baroque's legs in an instant. Because from what he understood, the poison fruit was paramecia, so it was impossible to elementalize his entire body, not to mention that he also had some armament haki mixed in with it. Poison channel. Baroque immediately used poison to corrode the ground into a smooth slide, and then immediately used the slide to dodge. Chapter 35 Poison Fruit. Oh, what a pity. Carl discovered that when Baroque corroded the ground with poison, the gold on the ground was also corroded completely. He felt a little distressed to know that this gold was also his trophy, and part of it was corroded. You should just worry about yourself. The poisonous gas is spreading. Baroque instantly filled the entire cave with the poison in the form of mist. The poison spread very quickly, and the entire cave was filled with poisonous gas almost in an instant. Moreover, they were now inside the cave, and there was only one exit, so there was no time to escape. Not good. Carl immediately waved his arms and put them in his nose to hold his breath, but it was still a little late. He smelled a trace of poisonous gas at that moment. Although he held his breath in time, he still felt a sense of weakness all over his body and his brain was a little dizzy. He didn't expect that just a trace of poisonous gas could be so strong. He could clearly feel that this trace of poisonous gas was constantly destroying him in his body. Perception. You must know that his strength is not low. After all, he has the strength of a pseudo-admiral, but he still did not escape. Obviously, Baroque's fruit development ability is far stronger than the warden in the original work. He knew that he had underestimated the powerful men in the pirate world, and yes, among the great pirates who had been active in the New World for decades, none of them had developed devil fruit into ultimate. The warden in the original book did not have much time to do so. For those who develop devil fruit, their strength cannot be ignored. But his titan physique quickly brought him back to consciousness. It was obvious that the weak poisonous gas was not enough to cause any harm to his body. A warm current rose up from his body and dissolved the poisonous gas in an instant. He knew that he was not Superman yet, and he could not stop breathing for too long, so he had to end the fight as soon as possible, or get out of the deadlock, otherwise he would lose the fight. Carl dodged, and the earth and rocks under his feet were instantly stepped on and cracked, causing the earth and rocks to fly. Carl came to Baroque's side instantly at a speed that was beyond the reach of the naked eye, swung the fist that wrapped armament haki and hit him hard on the head. After all, Carl is stronger than Baroque, because all of Baroque's abilities are based on his poisonous fruit, so his physique is not very strong. Well, Baroque's head was instantly hit by Carl's punch, and his body flew backwards and hit the wall behind him. His body was embedded in the wall so hard that the cave was shaken. Wow! Boy, are you strong? Baroque came down from the wall, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and felt the damage to the 5 internal organs in his body. He found that the strength of the kid in front of him was not ordinary. He looked quite young, but he was really powerful. Poison giant soldier. Baroque's body was covered with poisons, which were like armor. His height instantly rose to nearly 10 meters. From a distance, he looked like a hill. After Baroque finished preparing, he rushed towards Carl in a rampage, and everything around him was corroded by the poisonous gas. Lightning Thunder Fist. Carl knew that if they met over a short distance, poisonous gas would inevitably be encountered. So he first covered his whole body with a golden light spell, and then his fists flashed with thunder and lightning. Carl stepped forward, waving the thunder in his hand at lightning speed. A loud thunder-like sound, accompanied by a crackling roar, came from the air. Because the thunder was too powerful, there was a burning smell in the air where the thunder and lightning passed. Due to the huge size of Baroque's poison giant soldier, every punch failed. All the purple thunder and lightning hit Baroque's poison giant soldier from the air, and electric current spread all over the poison giant soldier instantly. Ah! He didn't expect Carl's thunder and lightning to be so powerful. He felt that he couldn't use his strength due to the electricity, and it seemed that he couldn't control his limbs. Even the ability of the poison fruit gradually began to dissipate. You must know that this is the thunder method that Carl uses with all his strength. It will instantly drive the violent thunder into other people's bodies and scorch their internal organs. Those who can catch this move have either refined armament haki to ultimate, or they are interrupt his attack from the air. He couldn't help but think that if it weren't for Luffy's protagonist aura, he might not have been able to beat Enel, the owner of the thunder fruit, before he awakened into the sun god Nika fruit. Sure enough, the protagonist aura was very important. Although he was thinking this in his heart, there was only a few seconds before he looked at Baroque in the field. Sure enough, the poisonous giant soldiers had dissipated before they could reach Carl, and the poisonous gas in the air had completely disappeared. Apparently Baroque had already. Baroque was half-kneeling dozens of meters in front of Carl, and his whole body was flashing with electric sparks. He could clearly feel that his body had been burned to coke by lightning, so his perception just now was not wrong. He no longer had the ability to fight. Thunder fruit? I never thought I would die in this unknown little cave. At this moment, Baroque recalled his tragic life. When he was a boy, his village was massacred by pirates, and he was left alone. Then he joined the ex-pirates. Finally, in the 10th year, he found the group of pirates who massacred his village. Thief, he got the news and massacred all the members of that pirate group in one night. Although he avenged the people of his former village, he had joined the pirates and he knew that he could never go back to the past. In the following decades of ups and downs, countless people were killed on the sea, but they never found a peaceful place of soul. Everything will stop today. Young man, if you had a choice, would you become a pirate? Although Baroque knew that he was going to die, it might really be due to aging. When a person is about to die, his words are good. He wanted to know if Carl's experience was similar to his. Of course I don't want to. Wouldn't it be nice to live and work in peace and contentment? After Carl said this, Baroque knew that Carl was the same type of person as him, but it was a pity that fate played tricks on people. Everyone forced themselves to take a path that they did not want to take due to various circumstances. Maybe this is the so-called dragon-slaying boy, and he is an evil dragon after all. Baroque's words before his death aroused Carl's longing. Hee. Yeah, if you had a choice, who would become a pirate? When Baroque said this, his eyes dimmed, and he had obviously left. Carl's soul was instantly baptized by Baroque's words before his death. He remembered what a great general said during the Blue Star War. Those souls baptized by the flames of war will be connected with the fate of the people. Everything we do today is extremely glorious. Carl instantly aroused his fighting spirit. He had no ambition or fighting spirit before, but Baroque's words today awakened him. Now that he has come to the pirate world, although he still doesn't know the specific meaning of letting him come, he now wants to create a world without war and slaves. He wants to work hard for it and devote his whole life to it. It all comes down to celestial dragons. Chapter 36 A New Beginning, Pung. Carl dug a pit outside the cave and put Baroque's body in it. In his opinion, Baroque's awakening before his death was enough for him to collect his body. Thank you for your reminder. I know what I will do in the future. After burying Baroque's body, he immediately hid the bag containing devil fruit. The next step is harvest time. Carl's matter is over. Let's go into the cave and carefully pick out what other precious treasures there are. After all, the first one to discover the treasure has priority. Well, this necklace is nice. Oh, there are two big sharp knives. What is it called? Carl found some relatively precious things in the treasure house. He put them away and put them in the system space while looking at them carefully. Oh, this is the Guu Dao, and this is the Yinhe Dao. By the way, Carl also collected about 3 billion belly in wealth. After taking a small part of the wealth, he walked out of the cave. After all, he can't take away all the wealth alone, which will cause rocks to be dissatisfied. The remaining wealth depends on the distribution of rocks. His mission has been completed. He walked out of the cave door and walked towards the center of the battlefield. On the way, he found a devil fruit covered with purple patterns on the side of the road. Poisonous fruit. He was a little surprised, although he knew that when the owner of the devil fruit dies, his devil fruit will randomly appear elsewhere. But what he didn't expect was that he could actually get it. Doesn't that mean that he indirectly changed the timeline? Sure enough, when Carl received the poison fruit into the system backpack. Congratulations to host for changing the pirate world for the second time. This was the second time the One Piece world line had been changed. The first time he remembered that the reward was in the system mall, but he had no points at the time and could not afford to buy any items. He just didn't know what the reward would be this time. Reward system. 1000 mall points, reward character templates, Demon Fox and Little Matchmaker, Royal Power and Wealth. When he heard the rewards from the system, Carl was immediately happy. He has 1,000 points in the system mall. He doesn't know exactly what he can buy yet, but Wang Quan Fugi is known as the best swordsman in history. If it weren't for some special reasons, he would be the first one among the Demon Fox matchmakers who could compete with the third young master of Ally Kingdom. Carl immediately opened his character template. Host, Lux D. Carl. Fusion template. Under one person, the Heavenly Master. During the Qin dynasty, there was the Mingyue sword Saint Gai Ni, not fused, and the Fox Demon Little Matchmaker was rich and powerful, not fused. Skills. Armament Hockey Cover, Observation Hockey Intermediate, Conqueror's Hockey Beginner, Marine 6 Styles, Golden Light Spell, Palm Thunder, Yang 5 Thunder, Tai Chi. Talent. Titan Strength Money, 3.7 billion Baileys. Items. Energy Fruit, Rain Fruit, Zone Taurus Fruit, Zone Rhino Fruit, Poison Fruit, Ancient Moon Sword, Jinhe Sword, Supreme Sharp Sword Longchen Sword, Unknown Devil Fruit *5. Evaluation. The first-class strongman on the sea, the overall strength is pseudo-admiral. Open the system mall. Carl hasn't seen what things can be purchased in the system mall. A pair of fiery eyes and golden eyes worth 100,000 points, weakened version. A source of chi body worth 100,000 points, a rainbow stone worth 100,000 points, a recovery pill worth 10,000 points, an ordinary long sword worth 10 points. Well, there should be no need to buy it for the time being. The next second, Carl closed the system mall. For the time being, he had no need to purchase items. In his opinion, Wei Yuan Dan is better, but 10,000 points each is too expensive. Well, that's perfect. Don't worry about the system mall issue for now. Carl feels extremely satisfied with his current strength and the items he possesses. Lord Carl. The battle was over long ago. After the battle, Clay kept looking for Mr. Carl. When he found Mr. Carl walking out of the woods, he ran over immediately. I found their treasure trove in the back mountain. At the same time, their 3rd Division Captain Barak also died in my hands. Carl gestured to Clay, and then said to everyone present, "Gia ha ha ha. I said, where is their treasure? It's so far away. Take the first step." The golden lion quickly floated towards the direction pointed by Carl. Whoosh. Not to be outdone, John passed by Carl like lightning. After all, John's favorite thing was gold and jewelry, so it was not surprising to have such a reaction. Well done, Carl. Let's go and see how much wealth they have accumulated. Rox took the lead and led everyone towards the back mountain. That's a lot of gold. Soon, Rox led everyone to the cave, and dazzling golden light shone out from the cave. Rox saw the 10 devil fruits on the stage for the first time, and then turned to look at Carl. Rox didn't expect that Carl wasn't greedy for devil fruit. You must know that according to his inside information, the Axe Pirates only have 10 devil fruits in total, but what he doesn't know is that they collected 5 devil fruits for this banquet. Then Rox walked to the front. This cave was discovered by Carl first, so Carl will be the first to receive the 2 devil fruits. Then each squad leader will receive one. Rox stood in front of 10 devil fruits, turned around and said to everyone, "By the way, let me introduce you to everyone, this is Silver Axe." At the same time, standing on his right was a strong man more than 3 meters tall, holding 2 large axes. Silver Axe is an undercover agent who joined the Axe Pirates in the early years. This time it was his news that let us know that the X-Pirates have not yet received the news that the giant pirates were destroyed by us. Gives us a big chance to eliminate the X-Pirates, so he can also pick a devil fruit. At the same time, he will serve as the captain of our Rox Pirate 7th team. Ouch! The 7th Division has been established. The most excited people on the field were the pirates who didn't have their own captains yet. Suddenly many people ran to Silver Axe, wanting to join his 7th team. "Carl, you come first." Rox motioned for Carl to come up first and choose. Carl immediately stepped forward. He didn't have a devil fruit illustrated book, and he didn't know which devil fruit specifically represented which abilities. "I just know that Zone is like an apple, Paramecia is in various shapes, and Logia will highlight the pattern." Apparently there was no Logia present, there were 5 zones and 5 Paramecia. Carl actually doesn't like Zone very much, because most of Zone are garbage fruits. It is better to choose Paramecia. Most of Paramecia's abilities are rules-based. As long as they can be fully displayed, there is no weak devil fruit. Carl took 2 paramecia devil fruit, then retreated to the sidelines. Then Golden Lion came up first and took a paramecia, followed by Newgate, Charlotte, Linlin and others, and the last one was Silver Axe, who took something. As for the remaining devil fruit, Rox took it alone. Okay, pack up as soon as possible. We have to return to Beehive Island to see what John, Ochaku and the others have harvested. Ha ha ha. Rox was obviously very happy now and walked out of the cave laughing. Then Golden Lion and Newgate also walked out of the cave, and the pirates were responsible for carrying the gold, silver and jewelry inside to the ship. These pirates will not hide it secretly. After all, everyone's observation hockey is always on, and the pirates present also know this rule. Chapter 37 Intelligence Agent Shaki reports everyone quickly returned to the ship and returned to their rooms. Golden Lion, don't forget our agreement. Charlotte Linlin walked at the back with Golden Lion. Rest assured. Gia haha. Aren't you afraid that Carl will trouble you behind your back? Golden Lion is a little curious about how Charlotte Linlin dealt with the trouble afterwards. Then it's none of your business, Golden Lion. Charlotte Linlin did not go into details, but just warned Golden Lion not to interfere in matters that had nothing to do with him. Mom, you're back. Perispero was the first to greet Charlotte Linlin at the door. Perispero is 10 years old this year. He is the eldest son of Charlotte Linlin and is responsible for taking care of his 11 younger brothers and 9 younger sisters. Mother. Katakori is now 8 years old, and he is now at the age of playing. He is playing wildly around the house with his 3rd brother Daifuku and 4th brother Owen. As for his younger brothers and sisters, they are still in their cribs. Well, Perispero, you will have your 12th brother soon. Who is Mom going to have a baby with this time? Perispero knows that his mother likes to have children with people of different races. After all, he is much more mature than Katakori now. Although Perispero is only 10 years old, he is now considered one of the few people Charlotte Linlin trusts. It's Carl, the captain of the 6th division of the pirates. I've been coveting Carl's Titan bloodline for more than a day or two. Carl? The power of blood is indeed very strong, but I don't know if my mother can get what she wants this time. Congratulations to Mom on your success. Perispero thought that no matter what, his mother's idea was already determined, so no matter what she said, it would be useless. There will be a big banquet after we go back this time. Please don't cause any trouble for me. Okay, Mom. Perispero, of course, would not make an expression of disapproval. We won't cause trouble, Mom. The 9-year-old eldest daughter Charlotte Compert said with a serious face. She was thinking about her younger brothers and sisters, including her own father, whom she had only heard of by name but not met in person. Captain Carlfan was so powerful. Chang, will he become their real father in the future? After all, they knew they couldn't change his mother's mind and could only obey. Well, I'm looking forward to it too. Charlotte Linlin fell into imagination. Newgate was on the deck, watching everyone present returning to their rooms. He couldn't help but think about when he would find a family that he could truly rely on each other. If he hadn't been forced to join this pirate group by Rox, he might have a real family now. Golden Lion was a little unhappy. In his opinion, it was better to go to the giant soldier pirates' headquarters with John and Ochaku. This way, he might get a few devil fruits with better abilities, instead of picking the leftovers from others. In Rox's cabin. You did a good job this time. Welcome back. From now on, I will hand over the information about Rox Pirate to you. From now on, you will only be responsible to me. If other people ask you for information, you don't have to tell it. Rox said to Shaki. Don't worry, Captain Rox, I will handle the intelligence from now on. Shaki said to Rox respectfully. Leave it to you, I don't worry, that's all, let's go down. It's the captain. During this period, Shaki also just joined the Rox Pirate, and her certificate of submission was the internal news of the ex-pirates. Otherwise, Rox would not know that now is the best time to officially attack the ex-pirates. In the same way, Shaki will only be responsible for Rox in the future. On the same day, Ba Jin also just joined Rox Pirate today. Carl returned to the room and locked the door immediately. From the system backpack, he placed the devil fruit he collected on the table one by one. Looking at the devil fruit in front of him, Carl had a malicious smile on his face. From left to right are the energy fruits whose names are known: the rain fruit, the zone Taurus fruit, the zone rhino fruit, and the poison fruit. There are 2 paramecia devil fruits in the middle, and the 5 boxes on the edge have not been opened yet, so we don't know what devil fruits are inside. He first violently opened the 5 boxes, and it turned out to be 5 devil fruits of different shapes. System, help me identify these 2 paramecia and these 5 strange devil fruits. 10 points for 1 appraisal. 10 points, I remember it was free before. What's going on? Why are you charging now? Wasn't it free before? Carl immediately asked his sole question. If he saw some points, he just wanted to loot them. Before, host had no money, but now that I have it, I can naturally deduct it first. I used to give it to you for free on credit. If I didn't let you make it up, I would make up for it. How about you make up the previous one? Vaguely, he seemed to hear the system gloating about its misfortune. No, forget it. Just pretend I didn't say it. Carl immediately shook his head and refused. Carl thought in his mind that the system was really unreasonable, so why did he still charge a fee? Forget it. Let the system help me identify these 7 devil fruits. 70 points are deducted, and the remaining points are 930. Appraisal is in progress. 2 paramecia, the fruit of painting, the fruit of change. 2 phantom beast species, fish fruit, phantom beast species, dragon form, bird fruit, phantom beast species, golden winged rock form. A logia earth fruit, 2 zones, triceratops fruit, saber-toothed tiger fruit. As soon as the system was introduced, Carl jumped up from his seat. Oh my god, isn't this going to happen? This is going to take off immediately. I got such a powerful devil fruit. The system opens my personal panel. Host. Lux D. Carl Fusion Template. Under one person, the Heavenly Master. During the Qin Dynasty, there was the Mingyue Sword Saint Gai Ni, not fused, and the Demon Fox Little Matchmaker was powerful and wealthy, not fused. Skills. Armament Hockey Cover, Observation Hockey Intermediate, Conqueror's Hockey Beginner, Marine 6 Styles, Golden Light Spell, Palm Thunder, Yang 5 Thunder, Tai Chi. Talent. Titan Strength Money, 3.7 billion Baileys. Items. Energy Fruit, Rain Fruit, Zone Taurus Fruit, Zone Rhino Fruit, Poison Fruit, Painting Fruit, Transformation Fruit, Fish Fruit, Phantasmal Beast Dragon Form, Bird Fruit, Phantasmal Beast Golden Winged Rock Form, Logia Earth Fruit, Zone Triceratops Fruit, Zone Saber-Toothed Tiger Fruit, Supreme Great Sword Longchen Sword, Great Quick Sword Gaiyu Sword, Great Quick Sword Yinhe Sword. Evaluation. The first-class strongman on the sea, the overall strength is pseudo-admiral. I could open a devil fruit supermarket. It's just that I can't bear to hand over such a powerful devil fruit casually. Do I want to fuse the character templates, but I feel that my current strength has not reached the upper limit. If I fuse them, it may affect my energy. Forget it. Let's listen to philosophy. Instead of trying to do too much, I might as well specialize in one thing, and wait until my own Titan bloodline is almost developed, and then think about the fusion template. Chapter 38 Haile Joseph, open the introduction of the painting fruit and the transformation fruit. Carl knew the general functions of the other devil fruits just by hearing their names. Only these 2 devil fruits he didn't know. Painting fruit. You can turn the painted objects into reality, but without souls. After the fruit awakens, you can give souls to the objects, and you can seal some inanimate objects in the paintings. Transformation fruit. It can transform all kinds of animals, plants and other shaped objects that have been seen before, but it does not have its characteristics and power. After the fruit is awakened, it can perfectly inherit the changed strength. If you understand the painting fruit correctly, it can store things, just like the magic pen Ma Liang did. The fruit of transformation should be able to transform into various animals, or even various flowers and plants. It is a pity that you can only have the changed strength when you are fully awakened. Oh, no, I can think of it this way. If during the Battle of the Valley of Gods, a person with the transformation fruit ability sneaks in with a person with the painting fruit ability, wouldn't it be silent? The value of these 2 devil fruits will suddenly increase, so be sure to keep them well. Carl then received the devil fruits one by one into the system backpack. The journey back to Beehive Island was quick. and there was no trouble along the way. After all, no blind pirate would come to provoke the Rocks pirate. When they returned to the island, John, Ochaku and others had also returned with the loot. After handing over 70% of Baileys, Carl's system amount reached 5.9 billion Baileys, but this time there was no allocation of devil fruit from the giant pirates. It makes sense, after all, the giant pirates and the others didn't go, and the rest should be at Rock's place. Meanwhile, Rocks decided to hold a big party tonight. Ouch! Master Carl, you are back. As soon as Carl returned to the station, he saw the white tiger running towards him. Long Yi and Long also followed closely behind. Carl first touched the white tiger's furry head, and then looked down at the two of them. How's it going? Have you practiced well? You must study hard, Lord Carl. Long took the lead in stretching out his right hand, and a ball of thunder and lightning loomed on his right hand. It was obviously the thunder method, and he had already started. Well, you two have improved quite quickly. By the way, Lord Carl, we did a bad thing today. Long Yi said with some embarrassment. Oh, what's the matter? Let me hear it. Carl walked to a boulder and sat down. It turned out that after they set off today, Long Yi and Long had a verbal conflict with the pirates stationed on the island. However, they were quite smart and did not have any physical conflict with the pirates. After all, they were still small. Although I have been practicing for a long time, but after all I am no match for them. So they adopted the form of gambling, and there was a duel field on Honeycomb Island. After all, pirates don't have much entertainment to speak of. The content of the gambling battle is that one person buys a slave, and then lets them fight to the death in the duel field. The loser has to kneel down and kowtow to the winner and call him grandpa. Sure enough, the two of them were fooled. After buying a slave, they found out that the pirate they were gambling with had chosen a slave from the giant race. It's natural for them to lose in gambling battles. But the two of them cheated and started fighting with the pirate. They didn't expect that the pirate was so weak and died in just a few blows. They were afraid that things would be exposed, so they just took the giant slave back to the station and never went out again. Carl laughed after hearing this. Don't worry, in Rock's pirate, there is no need to be polite to other pirates, we are not in the same group. And the killing captain inside Rock's pirate won't care, so don't worry. Carl carefully introduced them to the situation of Rock's pirate and told them not to worry. After hearing this, they immediately felt relieved. Today's incident scared them so much that they dare not even go out for fear of causing trouble to Carl. Giants, take me to see you. Carl was looking forward to it. Although he was not a so-called collector, it would be quite honorable to say that there was a giant on his ship. Master Carl is here. Long Yi was leading the way. Behind their station is a huge cave, and Haile Joseph is in this cave. Because the giants were huge and didn't have time to build a house, they had to stay in the cave first. May I have your name? Carl walked to the cave and saw this giant. He was sitting in the cave. The dark space could not hinder Carl's vision. Haile Joseph. There was a dull echo from the cave. Want to join Rock's pirate? As long as you are not a slave, you can do anything. Joseph no longer wanted to be a slave. Okay, come out. Dong dong dong. With the dull sound of footsteps, the giant Joseph walked out from inside. You're quite tall. As Joseph walked out, Carl visually determined that he was at least 20 meters tall. Joseph had a long beard and a huge collar around his neck. He looked particularly decadent. Just join my team. From now on, I will protect you and walk on the sea with Carl's name on your back. No one will treat you as a slave anymore. Many. Thank you, Lord Carl. The giant Joseph said to Carl with tears streaming down his face. The giants have a relatively straightforward temperament. He will only remember who is good to him and who is not good to him. In Joseph's view, Carl is the benefactor who saves him from the sea of suffering. Okay, just keep your head down and I'll help you take off the collar. Just when Joseph lowered his head, Carl covered Armament Hockey's hand with it, stepped forward and broke the collar directly. At the same time, he covered Armament Hockey on both ends of the collar and threw it into the depths of the sea. Boom! A huge wave rose up, and Joseph touched the collar around his neck. It's gone, it's gone, it's great, it's really gone. Joseph looked at Carl with tearful eyes. He was finally free from this symbol of slavery. Ha 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 ha, I'm free. Joseph stood up and laughed. Carl was a little relieved. but he didn't expect that one of his men would join a giant clan one day. "Okay, you can follow Clay from now on. Clay, I will leave him to you from now on." Carl looked at Clay aside. Now Clay was completely Carl's personal butler representative, mainly responsible for dealing with troublesome things that Carl didn't want to cause. "Please don't worry, Lord Carl." Clay also knew what Carl wanted to express. Although they didn't get along for a long time, he had a rough idea of what Lord Carl was thinking. Since Mr. Carl said this, it was nothing more than handing over the 5 elements fist to him. "Okay, now that we're done, you can go to the banquet with me today. After all, it was a great moment for us at Rock's Pirate in the second half of the Grand Line." "As you command, Lord Carl." Chapter 39, The beginning of underground love affair. As night falls, countless stars are twinkling in the sky. The pirates of Rock's Pirate also appeared in the square one after another. Tonight will be the most important banquet in the history of Rock's Pirate. After all, they had already defeated the giant pirates and the ex-pirates. The second half of the Grand Line truly belongs to Rock's Pirate. Cheers to Rock's Pirate. Cheers. Haha, this is a great day. The banquet was not delayed, but started as soon as the time came. There was no auxiliary words, no opening, and it started directly. At the round table in the center, Rox was the first to raise a toast to Carl. "Carl, you have the greatest credit this time, cheers." Rox's face was slightly red, and it was easy to see how happy he was. Rox had never drunk so much wine before. Because Carl found the location of the treasure house first. "Captain Rox is welcome. It's all thanks to everyone. If you hadn't been there to contain them, I wouldn't have been able to find the treasure house so quickly." Regardless of whether Rox promoted him or not, Carl took the lead in picking himself out. He did not exaggerate the credit, but simply and concisely explained that this time it was everyone's credit. "Gia ha ha ha." Golden Lion's expression was full of excitement, and his laughter was domineering in public. Come on, have a drink." Golden Lion doesn't care about this. He still remembers the agreement with Charlotte Ling that he must get Carl drunk today. Well. If it weren't for Captain Carl, Baroque might have taken away the most important treasure, and he might not have gained so much. Charlotte Linlin said to Carl with a blushing face. Her heart was like a deer. She had never felt like this with any man. Just thinking about what happened tonight, she couldn't help feeling secretly happy. And Carl didn't know their plan yet. Although Golden Lion and Charlotte Linlin kept trying to get him to drink, he didn't refuse. "Gu la la la. It looks like your strength has improved a lot." Newgate's expression was relatively relaxed. After all, this was their moment to relax. He could tell at a glance that Carl's strength had improved a lot compared to last time. Not much. Maybe during the life and death battle, some of the potential was stimulated. "I'm far behind compared to you," Carl said with a wry smile. Although it seemed that his strength was similar to that of Golden Lion, Newgate and others, it was actually like there was a bottomless abyss between them. Armament hockey and observation hockey are just getting started, and I don't know how to use Conqueror's hockey yet. Armament hockey, you need to practice more, there is no shortcut. Newgate still taught Carl not to look down on superiors and belittle others as always. After all, they, the top experts, had come through step by step with difficulty, and there was no so-called shortcut. "I know, Brother Newgate." The banquet passed quickly while they were chatting. Belch. "Okay, Brother Newgate, I'm going back first. I'll have a rest after drinking a little too much. Be safe and go." The pirates present were lying all over the floor, and there were drunken pirates everywhere. Carl walked towards the station with the support of Clay. "Gia ha ha ha. You'd better take a nap." Golden Lion directly released his Conqueror's hockey, and an extremely oppressive aura suddenly burst out. Instead of spreading, hockey concentrated on Clay. The majestic momentum directly pressed on Clay, who went into shock instantly. Because this Conqueror's hockey was only aimed at Clay, it did not attract Carl's attention. Pung! Clay's body fell gently to the ground. "Linlin, I'll leave the rest to you." "Gia ha ha ha." After Golden Lion laughed arrogantly, he walked away from the scene in all directions. Well. Charlotte Linlin didn't waste any time. She immediately picked up Carl by the waist, put it on her shoulders, and walked quickly towards her room. On this quiet morning, sunlight quietly filtered into Charlotte Linlin's bedroom through the gaps in the curtains. The birds sang happily outside the window, and the morning breeze blew the curtains. As the warmth of the sun gradually enveloped the room, Carl slowly woke up from his slumber. He rubbed his groggy eyes, then stretched for a long time, and the muscles all over his body made a low sound. The next second his touch triggered something wrong. There was someone on the bed, and he quickly turned his head to look. He found that he was lying in the arms of Charlotte Linlin. Logically speaking, Carl's height was now close to 4 meters, but he still looked a little dainty in front of Charlotte Linlin. The two of them were lying naked on the bed, with only a thin blanket covering them. If nothing happened, it would be strange. Wait. What did I do last night? Drink, Clay will send me back. What happened next? Why can't you remember? Oh my God. Ying, he found Charlotte Linlin awake. Carl, you're awake. Don't worry, I will be responsible for you. Well. Charlotte Linlin was a little shy as she spoke. After all, Carl's physical strength was too strong and he had tormented her to death yesterday. She had never thought that a man could be so strong. This was the first time she felt happy. Yesterday. Carl hesitated for a long time, unable to say a complete sentence. He really didn't know what to say now. After all, what he said had already happened, and it seemed like anything he said was redundant. But without saying anything, it seems like something is not quite right. Charlotte Linlin looked at the wry smile on Carl's face and couldn't help but want to tease him. That person, you have taken over all of my body, what else do you want? You can't stop being a concubine, right? Charlotte Linlin looked at Carl with her big eyes, as if expecting Carl's answer. Carl thought about it quickly in his mind. Now that things have happened, not to mention that he has some machismo, he definitely can't just let it go so casually. But he has to think carefully about how to get along with Charlotte Linlin. Since it was his problem, on the one hand, he wanted to make up for it, and on the other hand, he also wanted to stop Charlotte Linlin's future behavior. Okay. I'll make a 3-part agreement with you. First of all, from today on, your only man is me. You are not allowed to wink at other men. Second, eat less sweets to avoid gaining weight. Third, don't expose our relationship before Rock's Pirate is disbanded. Carl looked a little embarrassed. On the surface, he was taken advantage of, but in fact, it was the women who suffered more from this matter. It is also a last resort to make a 3-part agreement with others. If he didn't do this, he would feel as if he had dozens of cuckolds on his head. Well, no problem, I promise you. Charlotte Linlin sat up from the bed the next second, and the thin blanket slipped off her body. Her fair skin was revealed in front of Carl's eyes, and her nosebleed instantly. I have never seen such a big one. I must have grown up drinking milk and eating papaya. The next second, Charlotte Linlin hugged Carl directly, feeling the softness in front of her face. But, how do you know Rocks will disband? You don't need to ask more about this question. It's still early. Let's try it again. I haven't had any serious experience with it. Carl felt the reaction in his body at this moment, and thought that it was already like this anyway, so he might as well make the mistake. Now. Woo, Charlotte Linlin was knocked down by Carl before she could finish her words. The bed squeaked all day long. Chapter 40 The Growth of the First Team. It looks like we are going to have a real father. Parasparrow lay outside the door and listened carefully to their speech. This is a good thing, isn't it? Compert felt as if he was relieved. From their careful observation, although Carl was not a good person, he was not a vicious person either. Yes, this way we will be children with a father. As Katakuri, who has been responsible for protecting his younger siblings since childhood, he felt that after having a father, no one would call them wild children anymore. Because since they were born, there have been different pirates everywhere in the entire pirate group, saying that they are wild children, children without a father. They don't want to either, but they couldn't change the facts, and they couldn't defeat the pirates, so they could only silently endure the glares and cynicism from others. Just when Carl and Charlotte Linlin were having an in-depth communication, on the other side. Well, head hurts. Clay stood up from the ground in a daze. Where is Mr. Carl? You've already gone back, haven't you? Clay only remembered that he helped Lord Carl to get here, and the next second his memory no longer existed. He quickly shook off his unclear mind and ran quickly towards the station. In his opinion, it was already a big mistake not to send Mr. Carl back to the room with his own hands. Dong dong dong. Lord Carl, are you there? Pung. When he heard that no one was inside, Clay immediately broke open the door and opened it to see that it was empty and there was no sign of anyone coming back. Did I lose Master Carl? Clay scratched his head, but on the island, even if Mr. Carl drank too much, no one would put his life in danger. But since Lord Carl was lost in his hands, his first priority was to find Lord Carl first. He quickly ran to the next room to wake up Long Yi and Long You two, did you see Mr. Carl come back yesterday? Clay asked them anxiously. Long got up first and rubbed his eyes. No, I didn't see it. Yes, Brother Clay, didn't you just come back too? Long Yi also stood up and looked at Clay with a questioning look on his face. After all, in their opinion, Clay should be with Lord Carl. No way. Long Yi frowned and thought of something bad. Is Master Carl missing? Long Yi was a little awake now. He saw Clay's anxious expression, and coupled with this question, he realized that Lord Carl was missing. There should be no need to worry. With Lord Carl's strength, there should be no danger on this island. Long's face tightened. Yes, maybe he went to Uncle Newgate's room. After all, they have a good relationship. Long said somewhat soberly. After all, in his opinion, there is no one on this island who would do something evil to Mr. Carl. Maybe, but fortunately Mr. Carl's life is not in danger, so let's wait until Mr. Carl comes back by himself. The anxious look on Clay's face eased. He knew that even if Lord Carl was in Newgate's room, he would not dare to go there. After all, waking Lord Carl and North Korea Newgate are two different things. After all, he has Lord Carl's life paper hidden on his body. There is nothing abnormal about the life paper, which means that Lord Carl's life is not in danger. But he didn't know that Carl was currently having a fierce hand-to-hand fight with Charlotte Linlin, so how could he have time to care about them? Early the next morning, Carl came out of Charlotte Linlin's room. Remember our relationship, be sure not to tell others. Carl still looked a little worried and warned as he went out. Don't worry, Carl, I won't tell you. Charlotte Linlin felt that Carl was the only one, and she couldn't bear it now, let alone others. And she also knew what Carl meant, since Rock's Pirate would be disbanded sooner or later. Then there is no need to disclose their relationship. Instead, it will be used as a trump card. You little bastard. You have great physical strength. She couldn't help but lowered her head and muttered when she saw Carl walking out of the door. She didn't expect that this kid had the same physical strength as a cow, and he didn't stop for a whole day and night. Parasparrow, bring the food in. No dessert. Charlotte Linlin asked Parasparrow to bring the food in. After all, she had not eaten all day and night. She was a little hungry, but she also remembered Carl's instructions, so she did not ask for sweets this time. Okay, Mom. Although Parasparrow was a little surprised as to why his mother didn't eat sweets today, he still quickly arranged for some preparation in the kitchen. When Carl was chatting with Charlotte Linlin, he had already learned that it was the Golden Lion's help that caused what happened last night, but he no longer cares about it now. Since it has already happened, it is impossible for him to ignore it. Hey, morning, Clay. Everyone knows that after doing that thing, the whole person will be really refreshed. Now Carl feels that his mental state has never been so good. Master Carl, you are back. Master Carl, where did you go yesterday? I'm worried about you. On the one hand, Clay wanted to know where Mr. Carl went yesterday, but on the other hand, he felt guilty for not sending Carl back to the house safely for his own sake. Yesterday? There is something I need to do personally. Don't worry, it's not a big problem. After hearing Clay's inquiry, he learned that he disappeared for a day and a night, causing Clay and the others to worry. But he also thought of that wonderful day and night, which also made him reluctant to leave. After all, he was just a poor loser on Blue Star before and had never met a woman before. Unexpectedly, the feeling was indeed extraordinary. Take me to see how their training is going. No problem, Mr. Carl will definitely make you feel refreshed. Clay led Carl directly to the dense forest behind the island. This dense forest may not be big or small, but you can tell there are many beasts in it when you hear the sound. A large number of houses were built in the dense forest, and one of the rooms was very tall, like a huge fortress standing in the middle of the dense forest. Carl knew at a glance that it was Hailey Joseph's room. Master Carl, you are back. As soon as he reached the room, more than 100 young men and women gathered around Carl and said happily. You know where they might have been sold if it weren't for Carl, so they were very grateful to Carl. You should know what my purpose is in training you. I will form my own force, and you will be my first team. I hope each of you can make it to the end, Carl said affectionately to everyone. Yes. These teenagers answered firmly that at a young age, they had already experienced the pain of war and the bitterness of becoming slaves and being randomly selected by others. With these experiences, they understood better what freedom is. Freedom is so precious, so they will do their best to gain it. Okay, then I'll see how well you master your boxing skills. Chapter 41 Preparations before attacking the Kingdom of Tyre. Yesterday, Carl tested their boxing skills and felt very satisfied. It seemed that Clay still devoted himself to teaching them. Every child's strength has improved significantly. Later, Carl taught them the simple version of the golden light spell. The reason why it is simple is that he still has a few tricks up his sleeve. After all, he has to examine the character of each child and will not consider handing over the complete version to them until they have completely passed the test. After imparting the golden light spell to them, Carl would take them to practice and guide them every morning. These children vary in age, the oldest is 11 or 12 years old, and the youngest is only 5 or 6 years old. But fortunately, they learn very quickly. In just 15 days, they have already mastered it initially. After they have mastered it initially, the rest depends on their own efforts. After all, the so-called master leads the door, and cultivation depends on the individual. Not only them, but also Carl has to work hard to cultivate. After all, he still has to continue to polish his hockey, but these days he goes to see Charlotte Linlin every night. It's like checking in every day. To be honest, he has learned a lot. One morning, deep in the woods, bang! Wow! All the birds in the forest have flown away. After one blow, Carl and Newgate stopped their attack. Gu la 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 la. Carl, your strength has improved very quickly. Weapon colors can now be released. Newgate was always shocked by Carl every time he was with him. Unexpectedly, in just 10 days, Carl had already understood armament hockey and released it. But Newgate came back to his senses and felt that Carl was indeed a monster. After all, Carl's size had grown too fast recently and was already approaching 6 meters. This is all thanks to the help of brother Newgate. Otherwise my strength would not have grown so fast. Since Carl handed over the golden light spell to those children, he has asked Newgate to come over and practice armament hockey. After each fight with Newgate, he could clearly feel that the blood in his body was stimulated a little more. Although it was not much each time, the accumulation also made his body size continue to increase. But even so, he felt that his physique was far from reaching its upper limit. Okay, now that you have realized how to release your weapon color, this training can come to an end for the time being, and you also need to take a good rest. Being tense all the time is not a good thing for you. In Newgate's view, haste makes waste in understanding hockey. Every time you break through a stage, you must calm down and fully appreciate the feeling of this stage. Otherwise, the road ahead will be even more difficult, just like building a house. If the foundation is not laid firmly, the house will be like a castle in the air. I heard that you were dating Linlin recently. Newgate had an 8 trigrams look on his face and asked Carl curiously. As the saying goes, the end of the universe is 8 trigrams, and no one can avoid the 8 trigrams mentality. Brother Newgate, who did you listen to? But Carl did not listen to Newgate's words and immediately interrupted, and then asked quickly, his face also full of doubts. What he did must be very secretive. How could he be discovered by Big Brother Newgate? Is there something wrong? He remembered that he hid it well every time. Don't worry about this. In fact, Newgate discovered it accidentally. He was bored and drinking on the beach one night. Unintentionally sensed Carl walking towards Charlotte Linlin's room. Then he heard from the pirates under Charlotte Linlin that the sound had been coming from Charlotte Linlin's room in the past few days. They all thought Charlotte Linlin was looking for a man again, but Newgate immediately thought of Carl. Just tell me if it's true. Seeing that he couldn't hide it from Newgate, Carl had to tell him about the agreement between him and Charlotte Linlin. At the same time, Newgate must keep it secret. Newgate is not a talkative person. Hee, I guess that's it. Newgate secretly rejoiced in his heart when he saw that Carl didn't hide anything from him. Carl still trusted him. On the other side, there were some 8 trigrams mentioning things between the two of them, but now was not the time to talk about this matter. he suddenly remembered that there were still important things that had not been done. By the way, there is something else to do today. The attack on the Kingdom of Tyre is about to begin. It's so fast. It seems that the news was leaked last time. I thought I wouldn't go for a fight. Carl picked up the spare clothes and put them on. After all, his clothes were torn in pieces in the fight just now. I heard that the new intelligence captain Shaki is a very capable person. If I remember correctly, Shaki is Pluton Rayleigh's old friend. Okay, let's go. Well, let's go. With that said, the two of them walked towards Rock's bedroom together. Gia ha ha ha. This matter has finally come to light. Golden Lion smiled happily inside. After all, he had a batch of goods secretly seized by the Kingdom of Tyre. He had always wanted to find an opportunity to take revenge. He had a chance to go last time, but he ended up being shirkable due to various things. Unexpectedly, this time it's time to push forward again. So besides Rox, the most excited person among everyone present was him. This is Shaki, who will officially serve as the intelligence captain of our Rox pirate from now on. Well, why hasn't Carl come yet? Speaking of Sao to Carl, I had just heard the arrogant words of Golden Lion. Everyone is here. Gu la la la. I've kept everyone waiting for a long time. Newgate didn't care so much. He opened the door and Hockey said a word and then found a place to sit down. Carl followed closely and sat next to Newgate. As soon as he sat down, he saw Charlotte Linland's flirtatious look towards him. He quickly stared back. Their current relationship had not yet been exposed. Although it was only for a moment, Rox seemed to notice it and his eyes scanned them. Shaky, tell them about the situation in the Kingdom of Tyre. Rox changed his tone and immediately brought the topic to the Kingdom of Tyre. Hello everyone, the Kingdom of Tyre is one of the top powers in the New World. Please see that this is the main port of the Kingdom of Tyre. As he spoke, Shaki spread the huge map on the wall behind him. The map of the Kingdom of Tyre somewhat resembles an irregular rhombus. According to the investigation of our intelligence personnel, there are currently 500,000 soldiers in the Kingdom of Tyre, and a small number of them can use armament hockey. Kingdom of Tyre, why haven't I heard of it? So strong. Carl frowned. He was wondering if his time traveling caused some changes in the pirate world? At the same time, there are 3 people on the island who need to pay attention, namely King Tyr, military advisor Crusoe, and General Gales. According to intelligence personnel, these 3 people have admiral-level strength. Gia ha ha ha. Leave the King of Tyre to me. I have never killed such a powerful king. It was the first time that Golden Lion saw such a powerful king. He immediately felt itchy and quickly asked Rox for instructions. No problem, he will leave the Golden Lion to you. Rox certainly wouldn't say no, and according to reliable information, the Marine Admiral Snowlion also arrived in the Kingdom of Tyre the day before yesterday. As for whether there will be an ambush, it is still unknown, but what is certain is. Although Shaki didn't say anything, Rox immediately realized that it was their internal problem. Someone had already passed on their plan, but he didn't tell anyone about this plan. It seems that this can only be used as a trick. Chapter 42 Departure to the Kingdom of Tyre. Newgate then said that the military advisor Crusoe was left to him, while Gales was left to Charlotte Linland. As for the others, they were looking for their own opponents on the battlefield without special requirements. Rox chose to wait at the back to see what Marine's so-called conspiracy was. In fact, in his opinion, as long as he was strong enough, there was no conspiracy. As for Jorel being fooled, it was entirely because he was too weak. If he had been stronger, the outcome would have been really unpredictable. It is important to note that the Snowlion Admiral is a zone phantom beast species with the Snowlion fruit ability. Shaki calmly began to introduce Snowlion Admiral's Devil Fruit ability. After all, intelligence personnel must collect all information. While the Devil Fruit gives him a strong body, he can also use cold breath to attack enemies. So the Snowlion Admiral's physical skills are very strong. According to data, when fighting the Snowlion Admiral, the Snowmaster Admiral will blow the cold breath into the enemy's body, causing the enemy's body to become stiff. Many people were fighting against the Snowlion Admiral, and were suppressed step by step during the physical combat, resulting in their whole bodies becoming stiff in the end. After Shaki finished introducing the information, he put it away and stood behind Rox. Anyway, that's what happened. John, Ochaku, you two will be stationed on Beehive Island, and the rest of you will go to the Kingdom of Tyre with me. Let's see what Marine has up his sleeve. Clay, I want to take Long Yi and Long with me to this battle. You have to remember to keep an eye on them at all times. Please don't worry, Lord Carl. After the meeting, Carl returned to the station immediately and explained the matter to Clay. Clay, do you want some devil fruit? The growth of Clay's strength is still a bit slow, and he is still far from being a first-rate powerhouse. If he slowly cultivates on his own, he doesn't know how long it will take before he can become his true right-hand man. Lord Carl, I don't want devil fruit for the time being. After all, I am a fishman. If something happens, I can still go to the sea. Carl was right when he heard it. It can be said that most of the fishmen's strength is in the sea. If he eats the devil fruit, it will weaken his overall strength and leave a big weakness. Anyway, he has already practiced 5 elements boxing now. At worst, if the time span is extended a little longer, his strength will definitely make a big leap. By the way, Clay, after attacking the Kingdom of Tyre this time, you can return to the Fishmen Island and see if there are any fishmen who want to go to sea with you. I want to form a fishmen fishing team. This is not the first time that Carl has had this idea, but he has never been able to find any opportunities before. After wiping out the Kingdom of Tyre this time, according to his information, there should be no force that can compete with the Rocks Pirate in the second half of the New World. With free time, you can safely form your own underground force. Don't worry, Lord Carl, I will definitely bring my compatriots. Clay said with some sadness. After all, at this point in time, the fishmen are the main cargo for slave trading on the sea. The current situation is caused by the fact that there are no strong fishmen in the fishmen tribe. Even because there are too many fishmen races, most people cannot live under the sun. Therefore, many fishmen run to the sea every year. Joined various forces, but most of them were captured and made slaves. Clay also wants to change this situation, but he has no say in New World and cannot help his hometown. It's different now. As long as Lord Carl speaks, the number of fishmen sold will be greatly reduced in the second half of New World. After all, no one wants to get into trouble with the Overlord of the Sea. There are only a few people like those small pirate groups in the original book who are always ready to challenge the 4 emperors. I am here to thank Lord Carl on behalf of my Murloc brothers. Clay quickly knelt down on one knee, clasped his fists with both hands and said to Carl, tears uncontrollably falling from the corners of his eyes to the ground. Okay, get up. What does it look like? Of course Carl discovered it right away, but he also knew the current situation. With his strength, he could only help part of it. I just didn't expect Clay to be such an emotional person. Okay, Lord Carl. Upon hearing Carl's words, Clay immediately stood up and wiped his tears. By the way, what about the more than 100 children? They are not suitable for going to sea yet. Carl killed the order in one sentence. In his opinion, the 100 children were not yet qualified to go to sea. And this is his first team, he must take good care of it. Just let Long Yi and Long follow and show them the world. Clay, just stay at home. You don't have to take care of those 100 children during this operation. I'll leave that giant clan to you too. If there's anything abnormal, I shouldn't need to teach you. Although Carl didn't finish his words, Clay immediately understood. He knew that Lord Carl was worried about the 100 children, and at the same time he was also a little wary of the giants. Please don't worry, Lord Carl. By the way, you have to do one more thing on the island. Build a boat of our own. It doesn't matter how much it costs. We must use the best materials. Okay, Lord Carl. After Carl finished explaining everything, he took Long Yi, Long and most of the pirates under his banner to the port. They were going to board the ship of their 6th division and sail towards the Kingdom of Tyre. Each division has its own large ship, and there are currently 3 free large ships on the island. According to Rox, he should have 10 division captains, but it's a pity that he didn't gather all 10 division captains in the end. When Carl and others arrived at the port, most of the pirates had already boarded the ship and were ready to set off. Boys, get on the boat. Ouch! Following Carl's order, his pirates boarded the ship of Division 6 one after another. Ha ha ha! Rox directly released his conqueror's haki, and suddenly a domineering aura spread to the surroundings with him as the center. It was like a strong wind that made everyone present breathless, and then rocks put away Conqueror's hockey. The kids are going on a trip. The kingdom of Tyre is going to cause a huge stir this time. Set off. As Rox finished speaking, the pirate fleet began to gradually leave the port. Rox stood on the bow and thought, no matter what conspiracy Marine has, come on, he has nothing to fear. There's a pirate on Rox pirate, dialing the phone bug in the corner. Hello, Marshall Hill? Yes, Rox pirate has already set off. Bah. Hey, Marshall. Snowlion's phone bug rang. Snowlion, if something cannot be done, retreat quickly. According to the news, Rox pirate is fully mobilized this time. If something unexpected happens. Marshall Hill did not finish his words, but Snowlion could immediately understand the meaning of this sentence. I understand, Marshall. Snowlion didn't know if he could return to naval headquarters alive. After all, he can't leave the Kingdom of Tyre yet, because the Kingdom of Tyre is preparing to supply devil fruit to the world government, one of which is the Logia lava fruit. This is a very important devil fruit that can bring a new admiral to Marine. Chapter 43 Cunning Rabbit Cave, Bah. When the Snow Lion Admiral learned that Rox and others had come out in full force, he knew that his plan to escort devil fruit back to naval headquarters was impossible. Such a big target of his was definitely the first to be targeted. He only can think of another way. North Rear Admiral. The task of escorting devil fruit back to naval headquarters will be left to you. After Shui Shi hung up the phone, he immediately found his confidant Rear Admiral North. He wanted to escape from his shell with a golden cicada. After all, Rear Admiral's strength was insignificant on the entire battlefield and no one would pay attention to him. Snow Lion Admiral, this. North Rear Admiral was assigned to the task at the critical moment, and he instantly understood the responsibility he shouldered. My goal is too big, I can only leave this arduous task to you. I understand, Snow Lion Admiral, I will try my best to complete it. North knew that since this task had been handed over to him, it meant that the matter had reached a more critical moment. North did not refuse, but said with some concern. Then you. If you're lucky, see you at naval headquarters. Yes. North entered a formal Marine ceremony and said with some tears. He knew what kind of risks the Snow Lion Admiral would face. The Rox Pirate were known as the most vicious pirate group. No one was confident that they could survive against them. Okay, after the people from the Kingdom of Tyre sort out the devil fruit, you must take it as soon as possible, drive a small boat, and sail to the naval headquarters. Remember not to wear marine uniforms and disguise yourself as a pirate. This way the chance of success will be higher. I understand, Snow Lion Admiral, take care of yourself too. North saluted again, then turned and left. When North walked out of the door, he clenched his fists. He knew that Marine's strength was still too weak, otherwise it would be impossible to allow the Rox pirate to be so unscrupulous in the New World. The second half of New World. A black skull hangs on the ship, wearing an ancient captain's hat. There are two white bones crossing each other on the left and right sides of the hat brim. The skull's eyes are very bright red crosses, giving people a sense of blood and terror. A feeling of. This flag has caused countless waves in the pirate world. At first glance, it gives people a feeling of blood and terror. It symbolizes power, terror and ambition. It is also the pirate group that all pirates dream of joining, Rox Pirate. The first one to bear the brunt is of course Rox vehicle, the Dark. Following closely behind were 7 smaller pirate ships, none other than the captains of each division. Behind them are countless boats. A soldier observer spotted the fleet in the distance and quickly shouted to the soldiers below. Rox Pirate is coming, please notify the Kingdom Guard. What? Are you sure it's Rox Pirate? A soldier below shouted in panic. Yes, the people from Rox Pirate will report it. The soldier observers on the observation deck looked horrified and urged the soldiers below to report the seriousness of the matter. Ah, I know, you continue to observe, I will report it immediately. The soldiers below were rolling and crawling and ran towards the inside of the town, because they had already received the news before that the Rox Pirate was coming to attack them. They have been frightened every day during this period, and now they are secretly praying that Rox Pirate will not come here. But to no avail, Rox Pirate came anyway. Woo! A dull siren sounded, and the sound spread throughout the island. The Rox Pirate has arrived. After King Tyre heard the alarm sound in the king's hall, he immediately said to the military advisors Crusoe and Gales. "Everyone, it's time for us to set off." King Tyr immediately walked out of the hall and stood in the square. "Soldiers, the Rocks pirate has come to invade our territory. What should we do?" "Fight to the end." "Okay, soldiers, come with me." King Tyr took the lead and led everyone towards the battlefield. There are already many reporters standing around the port on the other side. After all, the news of the Rocks pirate attacking the kingdom of Tyre has already spread. But the members of Rocks pirate are faster. "You guys, fight into the kingdom of Tyre." "Yoshi, let's go, come on, here comes the treasure." Countless pirates on the Rocks pirate fleet had not yet waited for the ship to dock, and jumped off one after another and ran towards the port. Shot. Bang bang bang. For a while, the scene was filled with gunshots. As more and more people came into close combat, the port was stained red with blood in an instant, and the surface of the sea began to be covered with a hazy blood color. "Gia ha 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 ha. I'll take the first step." Golden Lion felt that his opponent was rushing towards this side at high speed and immediately floated over. Newgate and Charlotte Linlin were also the first to rush to the center of the battlefield. After they joined the battlefield, countless soldiers were killed on the spot, and even those who were lucky enough to escape were blasted to pieces in the aftermath of the battle. Lion Thousand Slice Valley. Golden Lion took the lead in rushing into the army camp and started killing as countless people watched. "Get out of the way, this is Golden Lion Shaki." "Ah! My hand." Just after Golden Lion fired several slashes. "Gia haha. Got you. Lion Majesty, govern place earthcoiling." Roar. Under the control of Golden Lion Fruit, countless ruins on the ground rose into the sky, forming a huge stone lion that roared towards King Tyr, destroying destruction along the way. When Tyr saw the Golden Lion coming, he clenched his fists, covered his whole body with armament haki, and rushed towards the lion's head. Boom! In an instant, when the two of them fought, the world trembled, and a huge circle was cleared out of the scene. But now the Golden Lion is at the peak of its strength. Tyr was instantly forced back and fell several hundred meters back. His color turned reddish when he landed on the ground. He resisted coughing out blood because he knew that he was now the representative of the entire country and he could not show his weakness first. Although the Golden Lion on the other side was repelled by the aftermath, he did not suffer much damage. "Golden Lion, coming to our kingdom of Tyre is the most regretful thing you have ever done in your life." After Tyr slowed down for a moment, he instantly turned into a black lightning, appeared in front of Shaki, and punched him in the head. "Gia ha ha ha. Then let me see if you have this ability." Shaki laughed wildly. Slash wave. Using both swords in his hands, he instantly swung a cross golden slash, which was brilliant and accompanied by powerful power. It directly met Tyr's attack and forced him back. Then the huge lion, which was tens of meters tall, kept colliding with Tyr's body. On the other side, Newgate and Crusoe, Charlotte Linlin and Gales also joined hands. The battlefield was instantly transformed into several battle groups. There was a roaring sound in the air from time to time. Rox stood on the bow of his darkness and did not get off the ship. He was thinking on the ship what kind of conspiracy and tricks Marine would use to achieve their goals. But no one noticed at this time that on the other side of the island, North had taken devil fruit and left in a small boat. Tyr then joined the battlefield, but he secretly observed the position of the Snow Lion Admiral, because he felt a vague sense of threat as soon as he entered the battlefield, and looked at Long 1 and Long 2 at the same time. Chapter 44 The battle begins. Newgate was having a fierce battle with military advisor Crusoe. It was a fierce battle from the beginning, but it was obvious that Crusoe was no match for Newgate. Shoot, shoot. The roar of artillery fire continued, and countless bullets came like raindrops. Ding 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 ding. But it's a pity that it's useless. Newgate is not an old man now, and his physical strength has not declined. He can now withstand the attack of ordinary bullets with his physical body alone. Gu la 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 la. You guys are a little annoying. Buzz. Suddenly, a crescent-shaped blue stream of light passed by, and countless soldiers felt their eyes turn, then lost consciousness and could no longer open their eyes. For a person of Newgate's level, it is not that simple to injure or kill someone with just a gun. His strong physique, speed and defense make him immune to these basic attacks. Empty shock. Newgate found that he couldn't win it in a short time, so he used the power of shock fruit with excitement. After all, Krusu is also a good opponent, and the best way to respect your opponent is to use your full strength. Krusu was instantly knocked away, and then he quickly stood up. Then the body expanded, the hands and feet began to become thicker, and the original appearance disappeared, turning into a 10-meter-tall giant ape. It turns out Krusu is a user with the ability of the Zone Great Ape Fruit. Newgate. Boom! In an instant, Krusu stepped out of a big pit and appeared in front of Newgate. He raised his sandbag-sized fist and quickly swung it towards Newgate. Clang! Gu la la la. That's what it looks like. Newgate countered with a right hand wrapped around armament haki, while swinging his other hand towards Krusu's head. Krusu's reaction was not slow and he quickly leaned back to avoid the blow. Shua! Take advantage of my move. Krusu was not affected by Newgate's words. Instead, he clasped his hands and hit Newgate like a sledgehammer. Bang! Despite Newgate's huge body, his dodge speed was not slow. He slammed his right foot on the ground and instantly appeared on the right side of the opponent's body. Covered with the abilities of armament haki and shock fruit at the same time, he punched Krusu on the head. Although Krusu quickly raised his arm to resist, he was still knocked away by the punch, and several buildings in the way were turned into ruins. Newgate moved forward quickly, and in an instant the second battle began again. Powerful country. On another battlefield, Charlotte Linlin took the lead in using one of her unique tricks. Under Gale's feeling, he couldn't dodge the blow, so he swung the long sword in his hand, with a white shimmer on it, and struck Charlotte Linlin hard. Unparalleled slash. Boom! The two energy waves collided, and the terrifying airwaves spread to the surroundings, but Gale's unparalleled slash only caused Wei Guo to pause for a second. Gale's was then knocked away by this powerful energy shockwave. Bang 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 bang. Charlotte Linlin ran over quickly with heavy steps, swung her huge sword, and struck Gale's fiercely. Boom! The ground trembled for a moment, as if an 8-magnitude earthquake had occurred. The pirate members and the soldiers of the Kingdom of Tyre who were still fighting in the distance felt the ground shaking, and they could not stand firmly. Charlotte Linlin's long sword was blocked by Gale's. Gale's was pushed back dozens of meters by this huge force. Ahem! Is it very strong? Gale's stood up, wiped the blood, and said viciously to Charlotte Linlin. But even so, it is impossible for me to let you step into the land under my feet unscrupulously. Gale's knew that he might not be able to hold on for long, but the determination in his eyes was eye-catching. Just as the battle was heating up, Carl felt the Snow Lion Admiral who was about to move on the edge of the battlefield. I found you, Snow Lion Admiral. The Snow Lion Admiral didn't expect that he would be discovered by Carl even though he was hiding so well. He originally planned to sneak attack Charlotte Linlin. After all, only Charlotte Linlin was slightly weaker on the court. His most important task now is to hold back the members of Rock's Pirate. After all, he has asked North to send Devil Fruit away. As long as he delays it long enough, North's side will be even more foolproof. But I didn't expect that he would be discovered before he even came on stage. Thunderfist. Carl didn't waste any time and ran towards the Snow Lion Admiral as soon as he discovered it. Lionclaw. The Snow Lion Admiral roared angrily. The Snow Lion Admiral knew that he could no longer hide, so he had no choice but to fight, but he still deliberately spread his roar throughout the island. Swinging out his armament haki covered, half-animal claws on his arms. Boom! Although they were fighting hand to hand, the shockwave generated when the two collided was no less than that of the others present. It turned out to be hidden here. Rox smiled and murmured across the ship. He didn't expect that the Snow Lion Admiral's hiding ability was so good that even he didn't notice it. But according to Rock's perception, there is no strong presence on the island? Doesn't Marine have any conspiracy this time? In fact, Rox was a little arrogant. He saw that Haki only perceived the top players on the field, but the weaker ones were not taken seriously by him at all. As a result, North slipped away from under his nose, and he didn't even notice. Unknown. Snow Lion Admiral, you must hold on. North, who had already gone to sea in the distance, immediately felt the roar of the Snow Lion Admiral. He knew that this was the Snow Lion Admiral buying him time, and he must stay away from this battlefield as soon as possible. I will definitely deliver everything to Marine headquarters perfectly. North looked down at the packages in front of him. He knew that if these things were not delivered to naval headquarters safely, then the Snow Lion Admiral's efforts would have been in vain. North could only speed up his rowing hands. "Boy, why do you think you joined the pirates?" Here, the Snow Lion Admiral and Carl knew each other immediately. Then the Snowmaster Admiral took a few steps back and asked the question in his heart. At the beginning, it might just be to appreciate the elegance of the top, but now I might just want the people to get the freedom they should have. Snow Lion Admiral's pupils shrank. Of course he knew what Carl was talking about, but it would be very difficult to implement it. "I didn't expect you to be so ideal. It's me who underestimated you." Clang. The two chatted while playing, because Carl knew that it would be impossible for the Snow Lion to get out of the island alive today. According to his perception, Rox has been looking at this side. In fact, his guess was absolutely correct. Rox's ultimate plan was to go to the Valley of Gods to cause a scene. Of course, the strong men belonging to the Marine Force should be weakened as much as possible. He would definitely not let Snow Lion defeat him today. Admiral walked out of the island. After all, there are quite a few Admiral-level experts on the sea now. During this period, Marine cannot make up for it immediately in just a few years. Although your ideal is great, it is impossible for you to realize it. Snow Lion Admiral naturally admires Carl, but he knows some inside information. It is impossible for someone like Carl to cause some ripples. Then just wait and see. He also knows that nothing he can say now will help. He can only do it with his own hands. This is also the path he is determined to follow in his heart. "I really hope you can live to see this day." Carl also wants the Snow Lion Admiral to live to see that day, because in his opinion, most Marine Admiral-level figures, except for Akainu, are symbols of justice and kindness to ordinary people. "Yes, alive. If I can really see this day." The Snow Lion knew that he might not be able to leave the island, so he couldn't help but feel a little emotional. He knew there was no way Rox would let him out alive. "I just hope that what he asked North to take back was worth it." Chapter 45 Titan's true form. When Rox discovered that there was no other strong man on the island, he sat down leisurely on the bow of the boat. At the same time, it is somewhat relaxing. He was thinking, why didn't Marine set a trap for him? In fact, his thinking was right. It was not that Marine had never thought of designing a trap for him, but Marine did not have enough power to eliminate them in one fell swoop. After all, Rox Pirate has reached its peak now, and it cannot be eliminated by just 3 or 4 admirals. It would take at least 10 admiral-level experts to destroy the Rox Pirate together. Marine doesn't have a perfect opportunity right now, so naturally it won't waste its manpower. As for the Snow Lion Admiral, when he was discovered by Rox, it was impossible for him to leave the New World. Because Rox Pirate was not idle during this period, but cleaned up all the marine branches in New World. Now the only marine branch left in New World is the entrance to New World, and there is one near the Fishmen Island. Boom boom boom. On the battlefield, Tyr was seen waving his fists among the huge lions at an extremely fast speed. Gia ha ha ha. The golden lion's distorted face stood in midair and laughed maniacally. "With you like this, even meeting me is a luxury." Manipulating one stone lion after another to rush towards Tyr, each stone lion has incredible power. Who, you can't go on like this. Your physical strength will be exhausted." Tyr's face was full of exhaustion. He stood in midair and whispered breathlessly. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The golden lion is indeed very strong. "We can only do our best." Explosive punch. Tyr gritted his teeth hard, his face was ferocious, and he stamped his feet on the ground. He began to spin in midair, like a high-speed spinning top, smashing through several stone lions in succession, and came to the front of the golden lion. "Shaki, take the move." The golden lion was not afraid at all when he saw Tyr rushing towards him, and rushed towards him despite Tyr's attack. "I am a golden lion." The golden lion swung his swords and slashed at Tyr. Cross/wave. Boom. A loud voice came, causing the weaker pirates present to have blood overflowing from their ears. The sky cracked, the earth trembled, and the crowd on the ground turned upside down. Some of those who were close were directly torn apart by the airwaves and turned into a ball of blood mist. Those who were farther away were blown hundreds of meters away, and they were in the middle of the collision. A vacuum zone of several hundred meters in radius appeared. The battlefield that was bustling with violence a second ago suddenly became silent. The soldiers, including the pirates, stared dumbly at the center of the battlefield. As the dazzling sunlight shines in, everyone gradually saw the center of the battlefield clearly. The golden lion was standing there, and Tyr was lying in the pit, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Puff. A slight sound came. Tyr slowly stood up. I didn't expect that I still couldn't protect my kingdom. Why are there pirates in this world? Tyr said with wounds all over his body and blood on his head. Gia ha ha ha. Who knows? Golden Lion groped around in the blood-stained clothes, took out a cigar that was broken into half and put it in his mouth. He raised the sword in his hand, gently placed it on the cigar, lit it, and took a deep breath, blowing out a smoke ring and showing a satisfied smile. A cigar after the war, as happy as a living god. This is because the two people collided fiercely, causing the sword to turn red. You should ask celestial dragons this question. Gia ha ha ha. Golden Lion held a cigar in his mouth and walked towards Tyr. By now. The Golden Lion swung the long sword in his hand and slashed at Tyr's neck. No, stop. After the Golden Lion's long sword scratched Tyr's neck, an angry voice came from behind. The Golden Lion turned around and saw that it was Gales, flying towards this side. You really look down on me. You dare to be distracted during the battle. Powerful country. Charlotte Linlin felt unhappy when she saw Gales abandoning the fight with her and running directly towards Tyr. Tear it apart. Gales did not escape this attack. A powerful energy wave directly tore Gales' body in half. The upper body was sent flying to Tyr's side. I didn't expect that our dream would end like this. We even said that we would grow the kingdom of Tyr together. Ah! Gales stretched out his remaining left hand and crawled towards Tyr bit by bit. It's just the last step. Just when his left hand was about to touch Tyr, his eyes dimmed quietly. Snapped. With a soft sound, his right hand gently fell to the ground. Gu la 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 la. You have finished fighting, then I will speed up the pace. Empty shock. Newgate immediately accelerated the pace of the attack. Damn, Rock's pirate. Why do you want to come to our country? Crusoe roared with tears in his eyes. Bang! Newgate did not reply, but silently increased the intensity of his attack. He knew that he could not answer this question. The soldiers present suddenly woke up and immediately fought with the pirates again. In their opinion, since the military counselor Crusoe was not dead yet, they still had the faith to continue fighting. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, Carl was directly blasted off several mountains by the Snowlion Admiral. Puff. Carl stood up immediately and spit out the blood in his chest. He raised his head and looked towards the Snowlion Admiral. I saw that the Snowlion Admiral had completely transformed into a beast, turning into a white lion dozens of meters tall. Then let me try out the newly learned skills. During the battle, Carl further controls the power of his bloodline, stimulating the power of his bloodline to transform his body into a true titan. Dong, dong, dong. A loud heartbeat sounded. Carl waved his fists and kept hitting the ground. His body slowly expanded into a 30-meter tall titan. His shoulders are like undulating mountains, his waist is equivalent to a small human runway, and his skin is golden as if shrouded in the sun, giving people a mysterious and solemn feeling. Power keeps emerging. This is the power of the Titans. A dull voice came from the giant's mouth. Quack! Carl clenched his fist and then looked at the Snowlion. You are honored, you are the first person to experience my Titan form. Woo! Carl pumped his giant fist, and a train whine filled the air. Is that Carl? Is this the power of the Titans? Charlotte Linlin had finished the battle and saw the whole process of Carl's transformation, and then she couldn't help being a little shocked. Well, 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 well. It's great, such a strong bloodline power. Charlotte Linlin slowly touched her belly as she spoke. She could clearly feel that there were 3 lives being nurtured in her belly. The breath of life exuded by each little life was far beyond that of normal children. You must know that the 3 children are still embryos. It's really amazing. Bang! Newgate blocked Crusoe's sidekick with his right hand. Newgate, where are you looking? Are you looking down on me because you're still distracted while fighting me? Gu la la la. Come again. Is it Joey Boy? It's more than a little like it. When can we wait for Joey Boy? The elephant owner far away on the other side of the new world let out a low roar. From the elephant owner's perspective, Although this heartbeat was also very strong, it was not Joyboy. Time is not up yet. The appointed time has not arrived yet. Calm belt, the deep sea, where you can see giant sea kings that are thousands of meters in size everywhere. One of them, a huge yellow head with a body size of 100,000 meters, said in a low voice. It's not time for Poseidon to be born yet. The other 3 giant sea kings of similar size next to them also nodded in approval. Did something happen? Sun god Joyboy, I have been waiting for you for a long time. In Marijoy, after a sound came from the room where I was sleeping, the whole room instantly became silent again. But Carl didn't know that the huge heartbeat when he transformed into the Titan form attracted the attention of so many top powerhouses in the world. Wow wow wow. Is that Mr. Carl? On the edge of the battlefield, Long Yi and Long looked at the huge giant and said excitedly, with stars popping out of their eyes. Is this Carl's true identity? Jia ha ha ha, it's more interesting. Shaki stood in midair and laughed wildly. The stronger Carl became, the greater his chance of breaking away from the Rock's pirate. Ha ha ha. Carl, do you still have a lot of secrets? Rox could feel Carl's life force rising continuously. It was far from reaching the limit, but it was still far from him. Chapter 46 Snow Lion Admiral's final song, Bang! Whoosh! Although the Snow Lion Admiral resisted Carl's punch, his entire body left a deep groove of several hundred meters on the ground. Then he said with a shocked look on his face, "What a lot of strength. It's not over yet. Wind God legs." Carl looked excited. He had never experienced such a powerful force, and even though Carl's body had become so big, his movements became more agile. He stepped on the ground and jumped up into the air, kicking the Snow Lion Admiral hard with his right foot. Frostclaw. The Snow Lion Admiral's face tightened, and he was not without the strength to resist. The cold air in his body shrouded the tips of his claws. Zzzz. Both sides wrapped armament hockey, but the Snow Lion Admiral still injected the cold energy in his body into Carl's right leg. The Snow Lion Admiral knew from the previous duel that he would not be Carl's opponent based on strength alone, but his purpose was just to drive the cold air into Carl's body. Hiss. Carl's huge face twitched, and a coldness could be clearly felt from his right leg. It spread from the leg to the whole body, and the entire right leg was a little stiff. Golden Light Spell. Carl was a little surprised by the lethality of this wind and snow power, and then immediately circulated the Golden Light Spell all over his body, and the chill in his body gradually receded. The Snow Lion Admiral saw the frost on his legs disappearing quickly and quickly launched a quick attack. Frostclaw. Before Carl could breathe a sigh of relief, the Snow Lion Admiral rushed up and attacked Carl's Titan body crazily. Facing the crazy attack of the Snow Lion, although Carl kept resisting and the Golden Light Spell was running crazily in his body, he gradually felt that his body was slowly becoming stiff and his body was gradually covered by ice and snow. The battle between Newgate and Crusoe has also ended. In Newgate's feeling, Crusoe's life has come to an end. I didn't expect that I would be the last one. Crusoe, who was covered in scars, looked up at Tyre and Gales in front of him, with a wry smile on his face. Then he looked further away at the people hiding in corners and rooms, looking at their fearful eyes. He knew what terrible things might happen next, but now he was powerless to change it. Sorry. The sky seemed to be much darker, as if it was seeing them off. A few fallen leaves passed by Crusoe's feet, which seemed to symbolize the withering of their lives. Although Crusoe died in battle, he still stood upright on the land of the kingdom of Tyre. Army Crusoe is also dead. Let's go. Run, retreat. Just after Crusoe died in battle, most of the soldiers present were shaken and then ran towards the rear. At first, one person ran with him, then 10 people, then 100 people, and finally everyone on the battlefield started running. After all, they didn't want to die. Since we can no longer hold on, we have no choice but to go our separate ways. When the pirates saw the soldiers present running away. Ouch! You guys, rush for me. On the other side of the island, a pier has long been filled with boats of all sizes. When most of the citizens of the Kingdom of Tyre learned that the Rock's pirate was coming to attack, they had already started packing their bags and preparing to flee to the sea. And Tyr knew that if they were defeated, the Rock's pirate would not spare any of the island's residents. So he sprinkled gold on the only way to evacuate, hoping to share the pirates' attention. It has to be said that although Tyr failed to protect his kingdom, at least most of his residents fled the island. Gold. Haha, this is mine. The first pirate to follow saw the gold everywhere and smiled obscenely. Then he grabbed a handful and stuffed it into his arms. Then more pirates saw this golden sea, stopped one after another, and showed wild smiles. This also bought a lot of time for the residents of the kingdom of Tyre to evacuate. The eyes of everyone present gradually turned to Karl and the Snow Lion Admiral. The two of them were now engaged in a battle that ignored life and death and defense, and both of them were in rage mode. Clang, 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 dang dang dang. A golden light and a snow-white light collided in the air at extremely fast speeds, separated, and then collided again. Each collision would bring fierce sparks, and the harsh sound of iron was heard endlessly. Suddenly there was a roar in the air. In this short period of time, the two men have fought hundreds of rounds. Karl kept pumping his fists with his strong body and unstoppable power. The Snow Lion Admiral used his extremely fast speed and sharp claws to continuously add wounds to Karl's body, and each blow drove the power of frost into Karl's body. While Karl kept attacking, he was feeling the power emerging from his body. This power was so powerful that he couldn't even grasp it. But Karl gradually discovered that the power emerging from his body was no longer enough to compete with the Snow Lion Admiral's frost power. Yes, the Snow Lion Admiral was an admiral-level powerhouse after all, and his bloodline power had not been fully developed. Karl also knew that if the stalemate continued like this, he would be the first to lose. The warm-up is over. Originally I didn't plan to expose it so soon. There is nothing we can do about it now, Karl said sternly after forcing away the Snow Lion Admiral with one punch. Then the surface of the body began to gradually glow with thunder, and soon purple thunder spread all over the body. Thunder Titan. In the Snow Lion Admiral's perception, Karl's strength suddenly reached a new level, his hair stood on end, and a sense of danger spread throughout his body. Of course, the Snow Lion Admiral could not have seen Karl's attack successfully condensed. Just when he was about to step forward to interrupt, he found countless thunders coming from the sky. You actually still have the power of thunder. The Snow Lion Admiral was shocked. He didn't expect that Karl actually had the power of thunder. I've never heard of you, Devil Fruit. The Snow Lion Admiral was trying to find out Karl's abilities while avoiding the thunder falling from the sky. But Karl's face was now distorted. Just controlling the violent energy in his body already used up all his strength, so he had no time to pay attention to the questions and answers from the Snow Lion Admiral. Thunder. Finally, Karl directed the violent thunder and lightning in his body to his right hand, and like throwing a stone, he slammed the violent energy towards the Snow Lion Admiral with his right hand. A purple channel was formed where the thunder and lightning passed. The air became hot and dry. This attack flew towards the Snow Lion Admiral like lightning. The Snow Lion Admiral felt that he had been firmly locked by this attack. Snowstorm. The Snow Lion Admiral sensed that this attack was unkind, and his expression immediately became serious. The huge lion he transformed opened its mouth and spit out an energy shockwave composed of wind and snow, which hit the thunderous waves. The places where the ice and snowstorm passed were covered with several meters of ice. At the moment of collision, there seemed to be no sound from heaven and earth. Then a mushroom cloud rose from the middle, and the dark sky was directly shattered by this energy, and dazzling sunlight poured onto the earth. This was Karl's full-strength attack. At this time, he no longer had the physical strength to maintain his Titan form. His body gradually shrunk back to its original appearance. The Snow Lion Admiral was pushed hard into the mountains behind by this shockwave. Karl walked over slowly. After a while, he came to the pit. The flowers, plants and trees around the pit had been burned away by the heat brought by the violent thunder and lightning. I saw that the hands of the Snow Lion Admiral had flown to nowhere, his orifices were bleeding, and there was a burning smell coming from his body. Why don't you leave? Karl asked with a surprised look on his face. This question has puzzled Karl for a long time. He had this question when he sensed the Snow Lion Admiral. In his opinion, an admiral-level strongman could have left before they arrived, and there was no need to risk his life here. You do not understand. At this time, the Snow Lion Admiral looked relaxed. Everyone comes into this world to find the meaning of their existence. The meaning of my existence is to protect the weak and uphold justice on the sea. It's a pity that you and I have different ideas. The Snow Lion Admiral looked regretful, as if he was lamenting why someone as powerful as Carl didn't join Marine. Carl knew what he meant, but they were in different camps now, and his idea was simply impossible to implement in Marine. It's just a pity that I haven't had time to see the sakura flowers in my hometown yet. If you don't mind, I hope you can take me to Wano-kuni to see if the sakura flowers in my hometown are blooming. The Snow Lion looked at Carl expectantly. Don't worry, I will go if I have the chance. After receiving Carl's affirmative answer, the Snow Lion Admiral slowly closed his eyes. Chapter 47 The Missing Devil Fruit. Seeing the death of the Snow Lion Admiral, looking at his empty eyes, Carl looked around, walked aside and moved a huge boulder, and pressed it on the body of the Snow Lion Admiral. After all, he is a Marine Admiral level powerhouse, and Carl doesn't want him to lie here in obscurity, with his body torn apart by wild beasts. That would be too cruel for him. After finishing the matter, he turned to look at the battlefield. At this time, the battle on the frontal battlefield was over. Most of the pirates rushed into the capital of the Kingdom of Tyre. Screams were heard everywhere in the capital. After all, there were still many people who did not want to leave their kingdom. There were even some people had no choice but to return to the kingdom because there were not enough ships. He stood there for a while and felt the power coming from under the earth, which gradually restored his strength. To be honest, this was also the first time he fought until he was exhausted. There were large and small particles all over his body. The wound, if his strength had not become stronger during the battle, he might not be far from death. Open the system panel. Host. Lux D. Carl Fusion Template. Under one person, the Heavenly Master. During the Qin dynasty, there was the Mingyue Sword Saint Guy Ni, not fused, and the Demon Fox Little Matchmaker was powerful and wealthy, not fused. Skills. Armament Hockey, Advanced Observation Hockey, Intermediate Conqueror's Hockey, Marine 6 Styles, Golden Light Spell, Palm Thunder, Yang 5 Thunder, Tai Chi. Talent. Titan Strength Money, 3.7 billion Baileys. Items. Energy Fruit, Rain Fruit, Zone Taurus Fruit, Zone Rhino Fruit, Poison Fruit, Painting Fruit, Transformation Fruit, Fish Fruit, Phantasmal Beast Dragon Form, Bird Fruit, Phantasmal Beast Golden Winged Rock Form, Logia Earth Fruit, Zone Triceratops Fruit, Zone Saber-Toothed Tiger Fruit, Da Kue Dao Gaiyu Dao, Da Kue Dao Yinhe Dao. This is the last presentation. I won't show you so much later, so I don't have to talk about hydrology. Rating. Super Strong Man on the Sea, Comprehensive Strength Admiral. Carl saw his evaluation, and finally reached the Admiral level, and the next level should be the 4 Emperors level and the Overlord level. But he didn't feel very relaxed, because after joining Rock's Pirate, the frequency of battles was very frequent. He either went out to fight or trained non-stop on the island without stopping for a moment, which made him feel a little exhausted both physically and mentally. Then his eyes showed a trace of regret and loss, making him look very sad. Unknowingly, many people have died in his hands, including both good and bad people. He actually has no psychological burden when killing bad people. Those who do evil can just die. But the Snow Lion Admiral should be a real good person. During the battle, after talking to him, he learned that the Snow Lion Admiral was really upholding justice on the sea, and he should not have died here. He didn't know when he became like this? Is it okay to be unscrupulous just for the sake of strength? Don't you even know the difference between good and evil? When did he become like this? At this time, Carl was in deep internal strife. But in his aftermath, he saw 2 small golden lights running towards him quickly, and he knew it was those 2 little ones coming. When Long 1 and Long 2 saw the end of the battle on Carl's side, they ran towards him immediately. This made him strengthen his belief in an instant. In order to prevent such things from happening in the future, he can only do his best to let the world usher in liberation as soon as possible. By then there will be no pirates and everyone will live and work in peace and contentment, and there won't be so many things going on. His faith was strengthened again. Changing the world starts with you. His eyes looked at Long Yi and Long not far away. You will be the first step in realizing my idea. Lord Carl. How is Lord Carl? Is the injury serious? Long looked distressed, seeing Carl covered in blood. He had never seen Lord Carl like this before and thought that Carl was seriously injured. It's not bad, it's not serious. Carl's tone was slightly relaxed. His injury just now was relatively serious, but he has slowly recovered and can now move around normally. Really? Lord Karl. There was a trace of surprise and confusion in Long Yi's eyes. In his opinion, these wounds on Mr. Karl's body did not look like they were not serious. You two performed well, I can see it. Let's go, the next step is harvest time. Karl took the lead and led the two of them towards the palace of the Kingdom of Tyre. Although the two of them looked confused, they saw that Lord Karl was moving without any problem, so they had no choice but to follow. The two people secretly whispered in the back and said, "Is Mr. Karl holding on?" Karl ignored the two of them whispering. In his opinion, Rock's pirate should have only one powerful opponent like the Kingdom of Tyre in the second half of the Grand Line. There should be no big battles in the entire second half, and there will be more time to recuperate. He just took this time to make some arrangements and could start doing some things now. In this way, after the Valley of Gods, he can implement his plan as soon as possible. He couldn't wait any longer. When he walked into the town with his two little ones, there was a sea of corpses all over the ground, and pirates were running around everywhere, robbing all the wealth they could see. Although I was somewhat used to such things, I still felt a little uncomfortable in my heart, so I quickly quickened my pace and walked towards the king's palace. Gu la la la. Karl, you're here. Because the battle ended slowly, Newgate just walked to the door, and before he walked in, he saw Karl walking towards this side with two children. Brother Newgate. Karl also walked up quickly. He carefully looked at Newgate's body and found that there were no obvious injuries on Newgate's body. Obviously, his opponent did him no harm. Are you okay? Newgate didn't realize until Karl got closer that he had wounds all over his body, and there were even wounds bleeding. It doesn't matter, it's almost done. Indeed, Karl could feel that some of the small wounds on his body had completely healed, and the remaining ones were slow to heal because the Snow Lion Admiral's frost power was still at work. But he could also clearly feel that these wounds were healing slowly. After all, they had no further power. Where's Devil Fruit? While the two were chatting, a low roar suddenly came from inside the palace. The two of them looked at each other with solemn expressions and walked quickly inside. Calder ordered Long 1 and Long 2 to wait at the door and not to come in. Because this roar comes from rocks. The two of them walked along the corridor. There was a torch every few steps on both sides of the corridor. A very bright light shone from the front. When I got closer, I found that the innermost treasure house was filled with gold scattered everywhere. However, the top few boxes had been opened, and the devil fruit inside had long since disappeared. Chapter 48 Revenge Against World Government. What's the situation? Newgate rushed in and saw Golden Lion standing in the corner, and immediately said to Golden Lion Shaki. Karl saw that the atmosphere at the scene was a bit solemn. Silver Axe was standing under the high platform at the front. Above him was Rox with an angry expression. Karl just glanced at Charlotte Linlin. Charlotte Linlin shook her head slightly and said nothing. Karl knew that the matter was not simple, and stood aside solemnly without speaking. Gia ha ha ha. Golden Lion laughed loudly, interrupting the solemn atmosphere of the scene. What else could it be? People took things away right under my nose. As soon as Golden Lion finished speaking, the air suddenly became thicker. Rox released a violent conqueror's haki. Everyone present felt their breathing became short. This pressure far exceeded the power of the frontal battlefield battle just now, and the surrounding buildings cracked. Trace. This was the first time that Karl felt the real conqueror's haki of Rox. It can only be said that Rox is worthy of being the overlord. This haki pressure made him feel uncomfortable all over, and he even felt a fatal death threat coming from his body. Obviously Rock's Conqueror's haki is strong enough to destroy real objects. It also shows how angry Rox is to release Conqueror's haki with such power. Rox suddenly turned his gloomy face towards him, obviously dissatisfied with Golden Lion. Look for it. It shouldn't be far. There is a port on the other side of the island. Many people go to sea from there. Although Golden Lion meant to mock Rox, he did not want to face Rox's cold murderous intent. He also sensed something was wrong with Rox and quickly shut his mouth. Rox looked a little angry. He knew he was careless. Unexpectedly, the Marine Admiral Snow Lion gave him a surprise. His focus was on searching for the top experts, which resulted in many civilians on the other side fleeing to the sea. He did not know matter what, I didn't expect that the person escorting Devil Fruit would be such a weak person. although he had his fault, he would not admit it with his arrogant character. Rox walked straight out. In his opinion, since there was no devil fruit in this treasure house, it had no value. He attacked the kingdom of Tyre this time just for those precious Logia devil fruits, but to his surprise, he still failed to snatch them away. After Rox walked out, everyone felt their breathing gradually calming down. Well, Golden Lion, you are very brave. Charlotte Linlin views Golden Lion like a warrior. After all, according to her perception, Golden Lion was targeted by Rox just now. Gia ha ha ha. It's a little scary. Golden Lion's back was soaked with cold sweat. Just now, he really felt Rox's murderous intention directed at him without reservation. At that moment, he thought Rox would take action against him. Okay, let's quickly send out our pirates to carry out Lord Rox's order. Silver Axe stood in the audience and spoke first. He is also an old man from Rox Pirate, but he has been working undercover all year round. It is the perfect time for him to speak out. Gia ha 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 ha. Golden Lion laughed first, and then his body floated outside. He was going to carry out Rox's order. He didn't want another death threat. Let's go. Let's each send out our men to pursue you. Newgate didn't even look at the gold on the ground. He knew that things were urgent now, and he didn't know what Rox would do, so they all walked out of the treasure house and ordered his men to chase the fleeing people. Carl, who was lagging behind, looked at Charlotte Linlin quietly. Soon some pirates began to move the wealth of the kingdom of Tyre to the ship bit by bit. As for the larger number of pirates, after accepting the order, they began to chase the civilians not far out to sea. Because the civilians were all in various small boats, their speed was not as fast as the pirates' boats. Soon the pirates' ship caught up with them, and for a moment there was a commotion on the sea, and a killing spree broke out on the sea. But it was already too late. North had already run far away with devil fruit, and after he ran out of the kingdom of Tyre, he immediately changed his route. He was afraid that the Rox pirate would react and send people to pursue him. After changing his route, he drove straight towards naval headquarters. The sky was a little dark, and after several hours of pursuit, the sea was in a mess, with fire everywhere. However, the pirates who came back reported that they only took back some gold and silver jewelry, because many civilians also took some gold on the way when they escaped. But the strange thing is that no matter how much I look for it, there is no sign of devil fruit. It must have gone far away. On the ship, Rox ordered more pirates to expand the search area. Then the crew of Rox Pirate expanded the search scope and found the dark night. Because it was dark, things could no longer be seen clearly on the sea, so they had no choice but to return to the kingdom of Tyre to report. After hearing this, Rox was angry, but there was nothing he could do. Had to return to Beehive Island. Rox knew Marine had tricked him this time, but that doesn't mean that High Rox will suffer this hidden loss. It was from this day on that the Rox Pirate gained its most vicious reputation. Beehive Island. Since Marine tricked me this time, I must come back with revenge. The pirate meeting hall is headed by Rox, with Golden Lion and Newgate on the left and right, Charlotte Linlin and John at the bottom, followed by Carl and Ochaku, and Silver Axe at the back. There is no Kaido in this meeting. Participation. Obviously this is a meeting belonging to the squad leader. Now New World belongs to us as Rox Pirate. Rox said, with a smile on his gloomy face. He knew that his plan had been half successful. Next, he would gather all the vicious pirates in the New World to contribute to his ultimate plan. Next, I need you to attack all the participating countries of New World. Come one by one. Don't leave anyone behind. In Rox's mind, this incident was firstly to get revenge on Marine, and secondly, it would allow more people to go to sea to become pirates, so that he would have more men to join him. You must know that there are hundreds of islands in New World, including 34 participating countries. The others are small islands with not large populations. So from this day on, the pirates under the Rox Pirate, following the captains of each division, went crazy to plunder all the islands they could see. This caused a large number of pirates to flock to all parts of the New World. For a time, the New World was full of wars. Although he was tricked by Marine, he still wanted to let Marine know what pain was, so that he could live up to his name as Rox. Each squad leader is assigned an uncertain number of targets. Carl has fewer targets. He only has 3, which means he will attack 3 franchise countries. But fortunately, the franchise countries he assigned are all not far away and don't have to travel far. Golden Lion's goal is the farthest, because he has lion fruit, and his speed will be much faster than everyone else. When Rox finished speaking, everyone present nodded solemnly, and then everyone accepted the task and left one after another. Meanwhile, Naval Headquarters, Marineford, finally reached. North was driving a dilapidated boat with bloodstains all over his body. He rushed here frantically from the New World. He encountered many pirates on the way and fought against them. His physical strength and spirit reached their limits. Who? It seems to be one of our own. Why, hurry up and take a look. Two soldiers at Marineford port saw a small boat sailing towards them. When North heard someone shouting, he only had time to say, "First am Marine Rear Admiral North." Then his expression relaxed, as if something important had been settled, and he slowly closed his eyes with satisfaction. It's North Rear Admiral, hurry up. Because North Rear Admiral's white cloak of justice had been dyed dark red by the coughed blood. The Marines did not recognize him at first, but after getting closer, they discovered that he was Marine Rear Admiral North. Seeing this tragic situation, they quickly helped him approach the naval headquarters, and then immediately notified Marine Marshal Hill. Chapter 49. Carl has a child. Well, where is this? North Rear Admiral opened his eyes and looked at the white ceiling, then looked around, feeling relieved. He knew he was back at Naval Headquarters because it was the scene of the medical department, the place he'd often visited during his youth training. As he thought about it, he felt a little nostalgic for the training he had received at Marine, where he spent his youth. He turned to look out the window. The sun was shining brightly outside, and rays of sunlight were shining in. You can hear the chirping of the little good birds. He knew he was safe now. Crunch! Ross quickly cast his gaze to the door. A tall, beautiful girl wearing a nurse's uniform walked in, with a flesh-red face and a slight smile, as if an angel had come to the world. After seeing Loss Rear Admiral waking up, he quickly called out the door. North Rear Admiral, you wake up. Come on, North Rear Admiral is awake. The voice of this beautiful nurse also sounds very soft. The doctor soon left, came in to check North's physical condition, nodded to Marine who was taking the lead, and then the medical staff present withdrew. Tread, tread, tread. Just then there was a call from the door. There were footsteps. The person who then opened the door and walked in was Admiral Hill, followed by Admiral Kong, Admiral Wenhu, Vice Admiral Garp, Sengoku and others. How's it going? How's North feeling? Marshal Hill's first sentence when he came in did not ask him about specific matters, but first asked about his physical condition. This fully demonstrates that Marshal Hill is a marshal who cares for his men. Don't worry, Marshal Hill is fine now. North said to Marshal Hill solemnly, and at the same time slapped his right hand on his chest, but the inadvertent twitching of the corner of his mouth revealed that his body was not what he said. Okay, I know everything. Have a good rest and ask if you need anything. Marshal Hill actually already knew the whole story, but North brought back the lava fruit after all, as well as several special Paramecia devil fruits. North Rear Admiral's contribution was indispensable. And through the Snow Lion Admiral's paper of life burning up, they also learned that the Snow Lion Admiral died in the New World. Although they were sad, they knew this was not the time to be sad. They can only suppress their sorrow in their hearts now. After all, according to the notification from insiders, Rock's pirate is about to start a big battle. So they don't have time to grieve now. After briefly communicating with North, they walked out of the ward and then arranged the order. Send some Marines to the front lines of New World to establish several Marine branches, led by Garp and Sengoku, and set off towards New World first. Marine is busy making arrangements here. Some of the pirates on Beehive Island went out to sea one after another. The first one to go out to sea was the captain of the first team, Golden Lion. His fleet was seen floating in the air and flying into the distance. Later, John, Ochaku, and Silver Axe followed the footsteps of Golden Lion and went to sea one after another. The only ones not sailing that day were Charlotte Linlin, Newgate and Carr. In Charlotte Linlin's room in the evening, the two people who had just experienced a strenuous exercise chatted quietly. Carl, I'm pregnant. Charlotte Linlin reached out her right hand and touched her slightly bulging belly with a satisfied look on her face. What's so fast? Carl didn't expect Charlotte Linlin to be pregnant so soon. You must know that he is of Titan blood. Isn't the pregnancy probability of rare blood much lower than that of normal people? But in a blink of an eye, he thought that this was a bloodline talent given to him by the system. Relatively speaking, it seemed that he did not have it himself, and he did not know whether his child would have such bloodline power. I listen. Carl's thoughts just flashed in his mind, and then he quickly put his ear on Charlotte Linlin's belly. Charlotte Linlin felt a little relieved when she saw Carl lying on his belly, stretched out her right hand and gently rubbed Carl's head. With his extraordinary perception, he instantly heard 3 weak heartbeats in Charlotte Linlin's belly. "Haha, I didn't expect this day to happen to me." The corners of Carl's mouth raised slightly. He didn't expect that he would have a child so soon. To be honest, he had not experienced the feeling of a good father. "Have you ever thought about what to name them?" Charlotte Linlin frowned and asked Carl calmly. After all, Charlotte Linlin's previous children were all named after her, but now that she has chosen to be with Carl, will the names of her children be different from the previous ones? Will this lead to conflicts between children? Don't worry. Just use my last name as your name. I will call your children over tomorrow and ask them if they would like to change their last name. Carl said it directly in a somewhat domineering manner. His machismo did not allow his son not to have the same surname as him. "I listen to you." Charlotte Linlin looked at Hockey's face and instantly felt that Carl at this time was very charming. "Come again." Charlotte Linlin hugged Carl. After Carl's continuous development, his Titan power has reached maturity, and his height has reached 7.5 meters. Although she is still a little shorter than Charlotte Linlin, she is almost the same. He was actually a little lucky to be with Charlotte Linlin. After all, according to his future height, it will be really difficult for him to find a beautiful and strong woman. After all, in his impression, there were not many women so tall in the pirate world. He didn't want to cry silently alone in the future. "You are pregnant. Why don't you forget about it first? It doesn't matter. Come on." Before Carl could finish what he said, Charlotte Linlin directly covered the two of them with the quilt, and then bursts of whining came from the room. 10,000 words are omitted here. They too have really good physical strength. Yeah, it's been a long time since I had a good night's sleep. The two of them were happy, but Charlotte, Perisparrow and others outside were suffering. Because they lived in the house next to Charlotte Linlin, Carl came every night and made so much noise that they couldn't sleep at night. It's even more outrageous today. It's already midnight and it started again. Some people with insomnia gathered in Perisparrow's room and started chatting. It was also because such things happened often, causing their biological clocks to be disordered. They usually used it to catch up on sleep during the day, but they would be very energetic at night. "I really don't know how long this kind of life will last." A younger brother complained in his heart. "Maybe it won't be possible until we have the ability to protect ourselves. Perhaps Mom's room can be reinforced to make it better soundproofed." Katakori said. "You can have this. Tomorrow, while Mom is out, let's make some repairs to Mom's room." "Very good. Then it's decided." Perisparrow made the final decision, and they decided to decorate Mom's room when she went out tomorrow to make the soundproofing better. This way they don't have to lie awake every night. Time gradually passed while they were playing, and as the sound gradually dissipated, the first ray of sunshine of the day greeted the distant horizon. Chapter 50 Lux D. Carl in Charlotte Linlin's room. The two of them saw the sun rising slowly in the distance. "Okay, I won't come this morning." Carl immediately said that he would tell everyone his name today, and then asked Charlotte Linlin's child to change his surname to his. To be honest, Carl hasn't told anyone his real name yet. "Okay, get up." Although Charlotte Linlin had some unfinished thoughts, she knew that today's matter was more important and that she would go to sea later, so she stood up immediately without too many excuses. Carl was the first to get up. He decided to go to the sea level to hunt a sea kings for today's party. "When you get up, you go gather the children in the dining room, and I'll go out and get a sea kings to replenish your health." "I know, Carl." Charlotte Linlin showed a little shyness. You must know that Charlotte Linlin was standing in front of him at this time to get dressed. The reaction of Carl's body was immediately reflected, but he knew that there was something important today, and he quickly looked at the little girl in his heart. Carl said angrily, "Be angry today." Carl quickly opened the door and walked out. He was afraid that it would be bad if he couldn't bear to turn into a wolf for a while. Well. Charlotte Linlin saw Carl running away, and a beautiful smile appeared on her face. Hunting a sea kings is not a particularly difficult task for Carl now. He walked to the beach and plunged in, and soon found a sea king several hundred meters in size. Conqueror's mere intimidation caused the sea kings to faint instantly and its body surfaced. Carl then dragged it away. Returned to Charlotte Linland's kitchen. The chef made the meal richer today, so I used it as the ingredient. After Carl dragged sea kings to the kitchen, he said to the chef, "Thank you, Lord Carl. Hurry up." Chef Longbread expressed his gratitude to Carl and ordered other chefs to go up and dismember the sea kings. When Carl saw the chef getting busy, he turned around and walked to the family gathering hall. When he walked into the family council chamber, there was a huge round table in the middle of the chamber. The person sitting at the front was Charlotte Linland. There was a seat to her left, which was obviously reserved for Carl. The rest of the round table was already filled with children, and some of the children were in small strollers. There were maids waiting on each side of the small strollers. Well, Carl. Charlotte Linland saw Carl walking in, stood up, walked over, pulled Carl over, and sat on the seat on her left. "Another announcement today. Carl, I will be your father from now on." Charlotte Linland first sat Carl down on his left side with a smile on her face and scanned the people present. "Father." Parasparrow was the first to stand up and call out to Carl. "Father, father." Then the talking children stood up and shouted to Carl. Okay, everyone, sit down, everyone, sit down." Carl showed an anti-smile, pressed his hand slightly, and asked everyone to sit down. "No matter who your father was before, but from today on, your father is me, Lux D. Carl." Charlotte Linland looked shocked. She didn't expect that Carl was actually a member of the D family. Charlotte Linland was shocked because she knew some news about the D family, but the next second she smiled proudly. After all, Carl was her husband now. And she's a pirate, she doesn't care about that. The children present did not know what the D family meant. They were just happy that they had a real father. "From today on, your name will be changed to Lux. Of course, you are not allowed to tell anyone about the D in your name." Although Carl told everyone present his name and asked them to adopt his surname, it was not yet time, so the D in their surnames needed to be concealed for a period of time, which could last for decades. "Then my name will be Lux Parasparrow from now on." Parasparrow immediately understood what Carl meant. After all, he was the brains behind the Big Mom Pirates. IQ is really not something you can rely on. The younger brothers and sisters present also remembered their names. The next most lively thing is their introduction to each other. Lux Katakori, Lux Daifuku, Lux Combat, etc. While they were talking, delicious food was being served from the kitchen. "Let's start eating." As the dishes were served little by little, Carl said to everyone with a smile. "Okay, I'm about to start." Katakori was the first to start eating crazily, and then the others followed suit. Carl looked at their childish smiling faces, but thought that at the beginning of the plot, they were not particularly handsome. Carl thought for a while and decided to hand over 5 Elements Fist to them. While laying a solid foundation, it would not become as crooked as the original work. Mealtime flies by in the blink of an eye. After dinner, Carl called Clay over. "Master Carl, what did you call me for?" When Clay arrived at Charlotte Linland's station, the first thing he wanted to do was to ask Lord Carl about the purpose of letting him come. "I am currently in a relationship with Charlotte Linland, so her children are also my children. You secretly hand over the 5 Elements Fist to them." Clay just heard the first half of the words and was stunned. He was a little shocked. He didn't expect Lord Geyer to be with Charlotte Linland. After the shock, he felt a little happy. After all, if Lord Carl could be with Charlotte Linland, it would be considered a strong alliance. When he thought about it, he felt that this was a great thing. "But don't tell anyone about our relationship. This relationship is still confidential." Although Clay didn't know why Lord Carl didn't want this relationship to be exposed, he would choose to keep it secret. "Don't worry, Lord Carl, I won't tell a third person about this." Clay knew that since Master Carl said this, there must be something that he should not know. He wasn't bothered by it either. "Well, I hope you understand what I mean." Carl felt relieved that Clay was the only one around him who could really help him get things done. "Then I'll leave it to you. I'm going to sea soon. I'll leave the family affairs to you, all rest assured." Seeing how loyal Clay was, Carl thought that he would bring something back to Clay this time. Then Carl arrived at the port. Charlotte Linland and Newgate are already ready by the harbor. "Brother Newgate, Please pay attention to safety along the way. Gu la la la. Don't worry, Carl, you have to be careful. Newgate is not afraid. With his strength, as long as 2 or more admirals do not come to arrest him at the same time, he can choose to leave the battlefield first at any time. Newgate's ships were the first to leave port. Be safe. The same to you. Carl hugged Charlotte Linlin affectionately at the port and looked at each other worriedly. Maybe what they were thinking about was not that they were in any danger, but that they wouldn't be able to see each other for a short time. Love brain is really scary. Several people drove to their destinations respectively. As the ship leaves port, he wonders if he's been a little too impatient since he joined the Rocks Pirate. Why do I always feel like I never have time to stop and rest? Or is it that the original Rocks Pirate is in the midst of a major expansion at this time? Looking at the port getting further and further away, he shook away the thoughts in his mind, turned around and walked into the cabin.